Welcome everyone to the Islanders Never Say Dies podcast. I screwed up the intro already, but welcome everyone to the Islanders Never Say Die podcast. It's an emergency podcast. We're doing this on Monday. And for those of you, I'm TJ Grumpy. I'm flustered, Grump, with what happened today. So I'm TJ, though, and with me here, as always, is the grumpy old man. They say there's no shame in his game because he is always the same.
And he's the NHL analyst and expert and soothsayer, able to predict the future.
What's that in Hercules with the three goblins that hold the eye to try to determine what the future holds? What are those things?
I don't know.
Please, somebody let me know in the comments because I'll make sure I forget.
First of all, this is the cartoon version of Hercules. It's not like any type of mythology. It's the cartoon version of Hercules put out by Disney. I'm sure that's what TJ's talking about.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. My knowledge of movies come to Disney, and that's about it. Child movies, grumpy old man, that I used to watch when I was a kid. Other than that, no idea. But for those of you who are new to the show, welcome. This is a twice-a-week Islanders podcast that usually happens every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and every Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you're new to the show, remember the best way to make sure you don't miss out on any of the action is by doing a few different things. Number one, by subscribing on YouTube, liking on Facebook, and following on Twitter. You can make sure you don't miss out on any of the action. If you enjoy this content, and again, the best way to let us know as well is by hitting the thumbs up when you're watching the video. That always lets us know, hey, you enjoy it. We also have a secondary podcast. It is an all sports podcast called TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. That happens every Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and every Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We talk everything: NFL, NBA, fan fights, the Kentucky Derby, MLB, soccer. Doesn't matter. Anything and everything. It's just a free-wielding podcast where we just kind of go off the chain and have a good time. For those of you who watch and are from this podcast, you know how enjoyable TJ and the Grumpy Old Man podcast can be. So make sure you give that a check and a subscribe. You can find it again in the featured channel on YouTube or in the link in the description below. Now that we're done plugging our podcast, Grumpy, today came with big news. Early this morning,
Really?
Lou Lamoriello fired Barry Trotz.
I believe he was relieved of his duties.
He fired Barry Trotz.
Oh, well. It's funny. We've talked about, everyone told us we were crazy. We're insane. Everyone said we were crazy when I said back in November that Barry Trotz could be potentially fired if they don't perform well this year. How many people came on this show and attacked me for saying those things?
Well, I wouldn't even say came on the show. I mean, everybody, even in the comments, do. Oh, no. And here's the thing, right? I had bought in the belief that they're not going to fire him. They're just going to wait out the contract. And, in today's podcast, we're going to break down a little bit about what we see, the impact Barry Trotz has had, because I feel like a lot of fans are like, thank God, good riddance, he's gone. We need to also look, he has done a lot of good for this franchise and this organization. We're going to talk and highlight that as well. I'm going to tell you what I think the reason was. We've got a few clips and people sent us a lot. I'm sorry I was late today. We got a lot. I was rifling through a lot, and I'm so thankful for the community who listens to this show. I got so much information from so many different sources that allowed me to be ultra prepared, hopefully, for this podcast. This just happened this morning. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of more dominoes that are going to fall, a lot more pieces of information that we're going to continue to consume and talk about. But thank you so much for everybody who sent me information. I did get a chance to see it. I will be responding to you guys all personally, but thank you everybody who had a chance to send me, pieces of information today.
Yeah, I just want to say something about the people who listen to this podcast. I've often said they're like family, Islander family, regular family, whatever. It's almost like you are part of this podcast, honestly. We don't ignore you like other podcasts ignore people who listen to them. And I realize we're not the biggest following in the world, but the fact that y'all feel like you can contribute by sending us things and your voice is heard, I just think that's big. And like I said, I don't listen to podcasts, but I know most of them are not like that. It's mostly one-way street, but we absolutely appreciate everything that we get from everyone who listens. I'm going to say guys, there are a few ladies who listen also, but majority of the people who listen to us are men. And I just want to say thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
And I will also say this, I will preemptively tell you guys, we will not be able to get through all the comments today. There's no way in hell I will be able to keep up with everything, because today there's going to be a lot of for and against this move to fire Barry Trotz. So, I do apologize preemptively. We will not be able to get through every comment today. I can tell you, I don't have 6 or 7 hours to dedicate this evening, but we will try our best. And
I'm sure we'll talk about this on Wednesday as well.
Absolutely. We'll talk about this on Wednesday as well. Now, go ahead, Grump.
Yeah, I just want to say one thing. I would say people telling us we're crazy, we're anti anything Islanders, we hate the Islanders. All that we do is we look at situations and ask questions. I said not even 2 weeks ago on this very show, I said, how many coaches not named Barry Trotz would survive huge losing streaks in season and at the end of the year, like that we saw this year for this team? And I said, nobody. And I know recently that I said, Barry Trotz is definitely going to be back. And I thought he would be back, but I didn't think he deserved to come back. Not when you come out and say it's Stanley Cup or bust and you don't even make the playoffs. That's a fireable offense.
The other item is, too, I'd kind of just accepted, right? He had a year left on his contract. Everything seemed to be chalked up. He didn't fire him right after the season. So you just figured, okay, well, Barry Trotz is our guy headed into next year. We've talked a lot about the positives and negatives of Barry Trotz. The guy is a good coach, right? Let's say that right off the top. The guy is a fantastic coach. The guy turned a team that was a persistent and consistent losing team and miserable under Doug Waite, less than average under Jack Capuano for years and years and years. He came here and overnight turned them into a consistent playoff performing team. He did, right? There's no denying that. He brought legitimacy back to this franchise and organization, legitimacy that this team has and this organization has not seen. And I'd say the better half of more than 2 decades, Grump.
Since the dynasty era.
Or even since, I guess, the early 90s when we had that one little run, right? When we made it to the Eastern Conference, or we made it to the Eastern Conference Finals 20-something odd years ago, 27 years, or I guess it was now more than that, almost like, 29 years ago. This is he brought legitimacy back to this franchise and organization. There's no doubt about it. I'm not going to try to go ahead and eschew that point. I'm not going to minimize that point, because that's something that he has to be praised for. Simple.
100% agree. And I've said that was the best move that Lou Lamoriello has made since he became GM, was hiring Barry Trotz. But it was pretty obvious during the season that what happened with the Islanders, right? We come out flat every first period, just flat. That's on the coach. You see the same performance in the veterans from previous years. You don't see it this year. When do you start seeing it? At the trade deadline, because they all want to stay here. And then as soon as the trade deadline is over, maybe a week or two after, the veterans go back in their slumber for the rest of the year. That's on the coach. And if the players have stopped listening to the coach, and it's not even the vets, when the players stop listening to the coach, it's time for a new voice. And those are just facts. And as great as Barry Trotz was and is as a coach, his time was up here. It just was. The style that we play is too difficult. It's too demanding. To play over 82-game season. We've talked about that over the last 2 years. Can you play this system and this style with this level of intensity defensively that you need to succeed? Can you do it over 82 and then the playoffs? You could do it over 48. You could do it over 56, but could you do it over 82? We questioned that going into the season, and it was obvious that we could not.
I think he was fired for a few different reasons. I don't think it was one specific reason. I think it was a multitude of reasons why he was fired, because his prior success should have given him definitely a cushion, right? There's no doubt about that. I don't think it was just one item. I don't think it was simply we didn't make the playoffs and we said Stanley Cup or bust. I think that contributed to it. I think it had to do with a lot of different items. I think, go ahead, Grump.
I do as well. I'm just agreeing with you.
I think, and I'm going to get to a few of the items that I believe. I seriously do think the treatment and the development of young players was understood. And I think that it was, you look at how the young players had developed or the lack of development from young players, right, wrong, or indifferent, whether it's on the in particular players or the coach was responsible, the result wasn't there. You can't go ahead and get rid of Matt Barzal. You can't Matt Barzal did not have a good year this year. You can't just say bye-bye Matt Barzal, goodbye Anthony Beauvillier, goodbye Oliver Wahlstrom. You can't get rid of all the young pieces you were expecting to make a contribution this year and did not, right? When you look at it, you have to say, right, wrong, or different, the results weren't there. Who is the guy you can hold accountable for that? You can hold the players accountable, but in all likelihood, if every single player is underperforming and the vets are underperforming and the young players are underperforming, maybe they tuned him out. That's something we're going to talk about. We had talked about the drift between Lou Lamoriello and Barry Trotz. We said maybe they're not on the same page with things. And Phil's Facts cut it, and we'll show a little bit of a clip there. Phil also had talked about it when we were on it. We had talked about, I think, the rift between Barry Trotz and Lou Lamoriello, but didn't get too specific with it. We thought there was something odd going on there. And I'll pull a clip where Phil's Facts went ahead and mentioned it. This was months ago, 2-3 months ago. I think that perhaps what we had been saying all along, Matt Barzal did not like playing under the Barry Trotz system.
Absolutely.
I think that also hurt Barry Trotz. Right, wrong, or indifferent, I think that hurt his position and standing as well. I think that exit interviews, when they come out, and you read the Athletic article today by Kevin Kurtz.
Excellent article.
It's one of the best articles he's written, I believe. Yes. Right? When you ask yourself the question, is it worth having a subscription to the Athletic? Days like today it pays for a month. It pays for the yearly subscription. It really did. You could always find it for free online on Twitter, or somebody, on Facebook might post it, but I thought it was very insightful. And you hear executives and you hear people close to the situation saying, look at it, right? They didn't fire him right after the season. They waited until after player exit interviews, and that's kind of what he came to the conclusion of it. I've heard some information from sources, again, not going to say anything, specific sources, that players in the room as well didn't like the treatment towards some of the young guys. That's all I'll say on that. And again, I consider them valuable sources. Matt Barzal and the young guys didn't perform this year. No. Simple as that. If Barry Trotz could not get them to perform, that's an issue. And here's another item too. I think the excuses that we heard all year long, parroted by this team of, oh, the long road trip, oh, COVID, oh, this, they changed the color socks we were wearing out there on the ice. Every freaking excuse under the sun, it's quite obvious Lou Lamoriello did not buy into. No matter what was being propagated by the Islanders media cartel, no matter what was being propagated by the broadcast crew, no matter what was being propagated by the head coach in post-game interviews, no matter what was being propagated by the players, Lou Lamoriello quite simply didn't freaking buy it.
Neither did we.
We never bought it. We never did. Not a single bit.
You're still in some of these fly-by-night sites, you're still hearing that. How could they fire him after COVID, after a road trip? They're morons. They're absolute morons. Because guess what? This is a results-oriented business, period. You get paid and hired and fired based on the results. Your result was not good enough this year. Barry had a terrible year as a head coach this year. Terrible. And if it was anybody else but Barry Trotz, everyone would have been screaming for his head all season long. His treatment of the young players, again, the treatment of the young players, it's been that way every single organization he's ever been with. That's what costs him his job, is the treatment of the young players. When team gets good and you don't give the young guys a shot, or you hold them to a different standard than you hold the veterans, it's a problem. I said that right from the beginning. You cannot treat players differently. You have to treat them all the same. And if a player is better, you have to give him a shot. You don't ride the old guy when they're not producing and bench a young guy when he does produce because you like the veteran. You cannot do that. Not in sports without developing a rift. And you saw it. The young guys and the old guys. Now, one thing, Lamoriello's slick as shit, though. He really is. In part of something that was in the Kurtz article, he said, he doesn't believe that he didn't talk to players about letting Barry go. But if you listen to what Lamoriello actually said, they said, did you consult anyone about this decision? The answer is no. Did I speak to the players on this decision? No. I would never even consider thinking of anything like that. The decision is on the knowledge that I have. So you know what he's telling you? He had the exit interviews. The players were complaining about Barry and his treatment of whatever, and that was part of his decision. But he didn't say, do you think we should keep or let go of the coach? And
So,
see, that's why Lamoriello was just slick as shit.
He's been around in the league for a long time. He knows how to manipulate. He is always a guy who tells you the answer you want to hear, and he does so, and he masquerades behind the actual truth. Right, wrong, or indifferent, he does that. And, it's what gives him, oh, Lou Lamoriello is playing 4D chess. It's what gives him that rep, because you're right. I think he 100% had the exit interviews, didn't like what he heard from a multitude of players, young players and players that need to be core contributors. And that's when he determined that he needed to get rid of Barry Trotz. But you're right. Oh, no, I didn't consult anybody. I didn't consult any of the players about this. They didn't know ahead of time. Oh, no, I'd never do that, right? Because I make the decisions on my own. All these decisions are mine. I come to these conclusions on my own. But the timing of things would tell me that he asked players what they thought about the room, what they thought about the players, what they thought about situations, and it must not have resulted in a resounding, hey, things are looking bright and sunny. That is for certain. And now I've got a theory. I'm going to play a clip that Phil's Facts. He had come on the show and it espoused at the time period a conspiracy theory, right? Everybody looks, oh man, you guys are spouting out some crazy shit. Oh, Barry, Matt Barzal doesn't look upset. How could you say Matt Barzal is upset? Well, we can look at his face on the bench. We can look at his face skating.
We had been saying that from the beginning of the year. We've been saying that. All you got to do is look at a guy. You can tell, and I mean, you could just tell that he was noticeably unhappy, Matt Barzal. It was with the coach. But this is good news. There is good news and bad news on Barry losing his job today. We'll touch on that later, and certainly more in depth on Wednesday night.
Yes, and I think there are some good things and definitely some bad things, right? Because don't act like this is all fantastic. It is, I think, overall, it could be good for us. But I want to pop this up on screen. Now, this is what we talked about 2 months ago. This is a callback, and thank you, Andy Francis, the man, the myth, the legend, the guest there on the show. He went ahead and cut this for us. Thank you, Andy. And Phil's Facts. You don't want to know the weird thing?
Phil is sleeping. He's actually sleeping. He looks so dull. Even in this clip, he looks like he's asleep.
Phil, he messaged me this morning. He said, go to this podcast at this exact minute mark. And he knew he was Johnny on the freaking spot with how quick he got this stuff to me. And I was shocked by it. So again, thank you. The amount of support and the amount of the people we had reach out to us and give us, in-depth information on items we talked about in the past and articles that are now kind of coming out that are validating the things we've been talking about for months. Thank you so much for that. It really is. And as Grumpy said, Grumpy, what do you always say about this show? What is this show, Grumpy?
We are the curve.
For certain we are.
And I'm going to say it again. I hate being right all the time. I hadn't said it in a while, but I'm saying today, I hate being right all the time. I was telling everybody, even last week, I'm like, Barry Trotz has one more year and he's gone. There's no way he's getting a contract extension. Absolutely no way. And it came to fruition today. I thought he would be here another year, even though he didn't deserve it after this season. Did not deserve it. But it was something else. Well, go ahead and play this, and then we'll talk about some more of that article because it's really insightful.
Okay. Well, here's this. I'm going to play this clip, and I'm going to go one step further as to what happened. I'll play this clip, and I think now this could definitely be close to the truth. And I'm going to go one step further and build off of this now that I think that this has more validity behind it.
This has been an incredibly puzzling year. I mean, the only working theory I have is that there must be some sort of internal rift this year between Barry and Lou that just traces back to camp, traces back to the Gustafson decision where maybe Barry wanted to keep Gustafson and Lou didn't because he wanted to keep Chara. And then all of a sudden you have a Barry favorite who the fans hated. We have Leo Komarov who ends up on waivers. And I'm sure when Leo Komarov ended up going to the train station or whatever, or the airport, and Lou called him, I'm sure that was Barry giving him the phone to call him because he probably wanted him back. That's my working theory. So now all of a sudden you lose Leo Komarov, right? And you have another Euro who went back home. Timoshov's like, screw this, I'm not staying in Bridgeport, I'm going home. right? And now all of a sudden you have a problem with the AHL team. No one's going there. And Golashev's not happy in the AHL. And Lou's like, all right, Golashev, I'm bringing you up to the NHL roster. And I think that was Barry thumbing his nose at Lou, not putting him in. Lou put him on the roster, and I think Barry's just like, fuck you.
Well, you know what then? You know what, Barry?
And I think this is a part of the season, I think, and again, this is just like a fan theory and could just be fan fiction. But I think that, Barry was probably not happy with the decision with what he left with him with at lefty, because he liked Nick Leddy, and understandably Leddy needed to be traded, but he did not replace Leddy with someone who does what Leddy does in terms of his skating ability. He took away Leo Komarov, and the rest of it has just been a tug of war that has led to just some really peculiar roster decisions, which might just be internal bickering.
If that's the case, I would have fired Barry already. A coach cannot be so.
Which means I'm probably wrong. Which means I'm probably dead wrong.
Well, I'm sure you're wrong, but hey, this is the type of show that you come on when you want to spout those theories, because we'll run with them for weeks.
Let's run with it. I've got the whole board. I've connected all the dots, and it all traces back to Leo.
All traces back to Leo Komarov, Grumpy. I'll tell you one thing. That sounds super freaking plausible now. That sounds even more plausible than when he said it. Originally, I'm like, okay, this might hold water. It sounds really freaking plausible now. And if you break down everything he said, right? Trotz liked Gustafsson, liked the performance out of Gustafsson. Lou, I guess, maybe did not. Gustafsson goes out there and plays for Arizona and has a really good season this year for Arizona on a really bad team, a really bad defensive team. He performs well, and he offers that offensive pop to the party. Maybe Barry wanted that. And I don't think Lou did. Maybe Lou wanted Big Z.
Or maybe it was the other way around. Maybe Barry wanted Big Z because he plays defense. Gustafsson does not play defense. Okay? So maybe Lou wanted Zdeno Chara. I'm sorry, maybe Barry wanted Zdeno Chara. That's another possibility. But you remember the goal? We talked about it.
Well, I was going to say, we're going to hit on Anatoly Golashev, because remember what happened with him? When COVID had hit and we were down X amount of players, what was it, 4, 5 forwards, whatever it was, an insane amount of forwards.
For a couple
they call up Anatoly Golashev. And how many times when we read that article from him, and people called us freaking crazy for believing what Anatoly Golashev had to say. And I said, I don't know why he'd be shit talking it so much if it was not true. We brought that up and we went a deep dive on that for about a good solid 30 or 45 minutes. Anatoly Golashev was told by Lou Lamoriello he is the next man that's going to be called up. If an injury happens, he's the guy. If something happens, a player has to go out, he is the man who's going to be called up. It took him a while, but he was finally called up. And you remember, they put his jersey out. They said, you're playing tonight. And then they took the jersey away and said, no, you're not actually, you're going to be scratched. And he had to speak with Ilya Sorokin because he was seething. He was upset. He's like, what the hell type of Mickey Mouse shit is this? I was told I was playing tonight, and now all of a sudden, right before game time by coach, I'm told I'm not playing. And I remember that day, too, there was a whole bunch of mystery behind it, because even the beat writers thought, okay, Golashev finally going to go ahead and go out there on the ice. But no, he wasn't. What's going on with this situation? I could 110% honestly believe that maybe Barry Trotz was pissed, and just like Phil's Fact said, he's going to stick his nose up at Lou Lamoriello. Oh, you're going to go ahead and make decisions for me who I'm going to start? No, Golashev is not playing. I could 110% believe that.
And you remember the post-game press conference when people asked him why Golashev wasn't playing, and his response was, no, his response was, well, he hasn't proved it at the NHL level yet.
Yes.
And my direct response to that was, well, dude, he's only played for your franchise. You could have played him. Why haven't you? Again, Barry Trotz needed to go. Absolutely needed to go.
I think
pump the brakes. Pump the brakes, though, people, because that doesn't mean we're going to be better next year, because the core issue of this problem is the veterans and the forward group. That is still an issue, and until it gets rectified, the team is not going to be better in the standings.
I agree with that. We're going to talk about that, too, at depth. I don't think just because we fired Barry Trotz, we're going to be a better team. I think we have a chance to improve, right, offensively. depending on who we bring in. I think that the style Barry Trotz played hurt our chances to bring in offensive free agents this offseason. We'll talk about that in a second. But I want to go even further back. We talked about that cabal of conspiracy right there. That seems very plausible now. I'm going to go one step further. You ever hear these stories of jilted lovers where, they've got a relationship and maybe they're at a time period where they're trying to discuss what should be, what they should do going forward? Remember how at the end of the first time we made the Eastern Conference Finals, Barry Trotz said that Nick Leddy was the second best player, right? That Simeon Varlamov was the best player by country mile, and Nick Leddy was the clear second best player on that team. I wonder if maybe, here's another thing. Lou Lamoriello didn't originally want to trade Devon Taves. Maybe he wanted to trade Nick Leddy. And the fact that they had good working relationship up to this time period, and they said, you know what, Barry, we are going to go ahead and do what you want. We want to go ahead and make sure we're putting the team out there that you think is best capable of winning. So we're going to let you keep Nick Leddy. You think that he's an integral part of this team. I believe you. Right? I know he struggled at times, but I believe that he is an integral part of this team. And then they're forced, and Lou Lamoriello possibly is forced to trade Devon Taves. Again, Lou Lamoriello did a shitty job of trading him. He got pennies back in return for him, but they kept Nick Leddy over Devon Taves, which has always left me questioning who in the right mind would do that. It didn't make any sense. Devon Taves is on a cheaper contract as well than Nick Leddy, and he was younger and had performed better, in my opinion. Just because he had one bad playoff series against Tampa doesn't go ahead and negate everything he had put forward his first professional year. It was fantastic.
It wasn't Tampa. It was, I think it was Philadelphia where he didn't look good.
He had one bad series that entire playoff run. Yeah. Other than that, he had looked, I thought, extremely competent. I was very pleased with what I saw on the ice. He did a great job in the regular season. It was his first full year in the NHL.
That's right.
We get rid of him after we saw the performance that he had put forward. I really wonder if that was one of those items to where Lou was like, man, I really don't want to trade him, but I'm going to because I trust you. And that's one of those items where as Devon Taves continued to perform and as Nick Leddy, right, was traded away that next year because of poor performance, if that was one of those items that created a little bit of that silent anger and that maybe that you see like these relationships, right? Maybe it was one of those that he held resentment towards Barry Trotz as well. It was like, man, that was the wrong freaking decision. I believed you. I trusted in you. I thought that, it was better to have Devon Taves on the team, but I went with your gut feeling. I went with what you saw on the ice for your system. And man, oh man, we traded away a freaking Norris Trophy winning or Norris Trophy finalist defenseman and kept Nick Leddy, the far inferior defenseman. I wonder if that maybe created a little bit of the jilt as well, and a little bit of the chink in the armor.
And I'm going to take it one step further, TJ, just to validate that for you. And I would tie it back into what Phil's fiction/facts said. I have always said on this podcast that Lamoriello was in conjunction with Barry when he was acquiring players and putting guys on the team, because whoever Barry wanted, he got. So he wanted Nick Leddy. He kept Nick Leddy, even though it was against Lou's better judgment. He kept Nick Leddy over Devon Taves. And I'm going to say that has happened all throughout his tenure since Barry and Lou have been here together. This year, Lou said he looked at the roster and he's like, you know what? We need to get younger. Lou is not stupid. Neither is Barry. But Lou is not stupid. He knows this team cannot compete to win a Stanley Cup the way it's set up. He knows it. I've talked about it ad infinitum for months now. They know that this team was not good enough. And he's looking at all these things, right? He lost Taves. The Golashev incident, right? Where Barry thumbs his nose at Golashev. And finally just said, you know what? Enough is enough. Because again, I'm going to touch back on that Kurtz article. Lou said that it wasn't just this year.
That's why he was let go. Freaking bingo. That's exactly what I was waiting to go ahead. I'm glad you were able to tie the two together. And that's what everybody said. Oh, that's so odd. Why would he say it's not just this year?
And they considered it, Kurtz considered a puzzling statement. He says, this decision was not just primarily made on this season. I 100% agree with that. It's something that's been bubbling underneath. Lamoriello knows this team is old. He knows he's been jettisoning young players because Barry will only play vets. That's why we keep pissing away first-round draft picks on guys in their 30s. That's what Barry wanted. Finally, Lou said, you know what? Enough is enough. We didn't win. The players are freaking openly revolting. Not in the house, even though we have heard that Matty B and Trotz got into a screaming match in the locker room after one game in season.
Yep, towards the beginning of the season. I heard from other sources that, again, I think I mentioned this, maybe I didn't, a close source said that the players and a guy like Josh Bailey kind of felt that Barry Trotz was a little hard on Oliver Wahlstrom. That's kind of sugarcoating it a bit. But here's the thing. That statement right there, this decision was not primarily made on this season. That makes me think it goes back to Nick Leddy and Devon Taves also. That is something that could really go ahead and leave for a resentment. I seriously could believe that. And here's the thing. I'm not completely saying Lou Lamoriello is absolved of any sort of fault in poor trades, because trust me, he's made poor decisions as well. What Lou Lamoriello has done is he brought legitimacy overnight by hiring Barry Trotz. There is no dispute over that. None at all. And we had talked about it beforehand. Barry Trotz and Lou Lamoriello have done what they were designed to do with this team. Bring legitimacy to the Islanders, give them a chance and a run. And we question, is Lou Lamoriello the right guy to structure a team going forward that needs to be focused on not only today, but also the future? Because we have gutted a lot of the young players and a lot of the talented young men that we have on this team. Is he the right spot? And we always said, if we're going to be looking also towards the future, Barry Trotz does not do a great job of developing young forwards. He said multiple times, the NHL is not a developmental league. Unless you're a fully rounded out and 100% NHL vet, you don't find it easy to stick in and out of a situation under Barry Trotz. It's just as simple as that.
Young guys need not apply. Right? How many times have we said that? And that's been throughout Trotz's whole career as a head coach. Washington got run out of town on a rail after winning the Stanley Cup. No young guys were playing. Vrana, Burakovsky, none of them. Wouldn't play him. Freaking refused. Nashville to bring it all the way back. Do we have an article, TJ?
Yeah, okay. Well, let's not jump the gun on that. Okay. He said, and this I think as well by Kevin Kurtz, we'd like to improve our defense. This is what Lou Lamoriello said. If we can, as far as offensively, he said, if there is a way of making a hockey deal, certainly with our forwards, we would do that. I think what we have to get improvement out on is our younger players and more complete year out of some of our veterans than we did this year.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fairly accurate statement. That's not about Barry Trotz. That's about Lou saying what needs to be done in the offseason. And he's right. So what does that tell me? And I know we're going to touch on this more on Wednesday, obviously. We're in the running for Chychrun.
And let me tell you this too. For people who are going to say general managers have all the say, right? There's no way that they ever listen to a head coach. Wake the hell up. Wake the fuck up. They listen to their head coach. Guess what? A good general manager does two things. They listen to their head coach's input because they see the players every freaking day and they know all the warts and all the bright sides of every single one of these players. And they make sure they try to go ahead and accentuate what the head coach wants to put him in the best situation to win. If he felt like our head coach no longer is in the best situation to win us games, I feel like there's a better head coach out there. That's another reason he's gone. The head coach and general manager work together. Newsflash, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
They work together. They don't go ahead and compete against each other. It's not like they're in a situation where it's like, oh, well, I'm Barry Trotz and I just go ahead and get what Lou Lamoriello throws me. No. No. They're supposed a good relationship. They're supposed to have an open line of communication. They're supposed to, and if they're not going to agree on everything, and that's why I think this has started. They're not going to agree on every single decision they make. Simple as that.
I'm going to tell you what. We re-signed Kyle Palmieri because Barry wanted him. We didn't trade Semyon Varlamov because Barry wanted him. And all right, those were two. And who was somebody else who was Cal Clutterbuck. And re-signing.
I will say this: I can't say verifiably we know those items.
I'm gonna guarantee you that's the case.
I'm not gonna jump on the Barry was wrong for everything train and Lou is right on everything train. Who the hell knows at this point?
Anything that came with keeping overpriced veterans at the expense of giving younger players more opportunity is right at Barry's feet. Every single bit of it. He's the guy who put the players on the ice.
He did. He refused to play guys like Kiefer Bellows is this, Kiefer Bellows is that. You know what? Kiefer Bellows, when given opportunities in a top six role, played better than some of our bona fide top six forwards, right? When you look at the decisions that Barry Trotz made, apparently also you can read Oliver Wahlstrom didn't get along too well, again, with Barry Trotz. And do you ever think that, oh man, his play just fell off? Just fell off the cliff. He was at one time period, right? He was averaging the most points or top 5 in points per 60 minutes. And we said, why is he not being given more time? He's hot. He's playing well. Why is that the case? Young players are fickle. Look at Cole Caulfield. Could you imagine if Cole Caulfield struggled like he did in Montreal early on this season? What Barry Trotz would have done? Would have said you're playing bottom 6 minutes. He would have taken him off the power play, just like Barry Trotz did. Oh, we're going to give you a little bit of chance with top line Matt Barzal as you're playing third line minutes still, as you're lined up as the third line winger, and we're going to give you 0 power play time. The guy at one point in time was leading your team in power play goals. The guy has an unbelievable shot, rolling him out 9th in shootout. That tells you all you need to know about what he thinks. 9th in shootout. 9th.
More comments in the Kurtz article, maybe shedding some light. Trotz's handling of Wahlstrom was a particularly hot-button topic throughout the second half, as was the coach's long leash for veterans who struggled in the early part of the season. That's right out of this podcast, by the way. And here's the thing. If a goofs like us were able to figure it out, Lou figured it out too. I'm just telling you that right now.
We've given Lou a lot of shit this year. And we did. We also give Barry a lot of shit this year. It tells me that we remember we asked, okay, is Lou completely gone? Is he lost? Is he off his rocker? No. I think what we're seeing here is that maybe he was seeing the same things that everybody else was seeing. That's what it looks like to me. He's not completely far gone. That's how that looks to me. But you're right. Unbelievably long leash for struggling veterans, playing them top 6. Josh Bailey. Why don't they just go ahead and highlight Josh Bailey's name in this? Unbelievably bad, historically bad season for him. Still didn't impact his ice time at all. The few games Josh Bailey got moved to the third line. Wow, it was crazy how Josh Bailey started to perform better. Like he was playing with his hair on fire. Isn't that crazy? I see the effort level of a veteran like that when he's dropped down the order in the pecking order, getting less minutes. Wow, it looks like he's got a lot more energy out there on the ice, Grump. Isn't that funny?
And what was the media cartel's response to why Wahlstrom or Bellows or Bars or any of the young guys are getting demoted or benched or have their ice cut? Well, he's sending a message to the veterans. And you remember what I said? That's not how you send a message to anyone. The only one it sends a message to is to the young player. You want to send a message to a veteran, you bench his ass. He finally did it. Finally did it. And all of a sudden, man, those guys they popped up like daisies in springtime because their ice time was being threatened. It's so stupid when the media and even the people on the telecast say dumb shit like that. It's so obvious. It's like they have no concept of how to motivate someone. You want to motivate an athlete, sit his ass on the bench.
It's certain, right? Certain players you can do that. A player who is expecting that I am preordained starter, I'm number one, nothing can dethrone my spot here on the team. That's how you do it, right? For certain, that's how you do it. With a young player, how do you do it? You got to show them a little bit. And every single player responds to different items. Some, as I've said multiple times, and I can't say it's even more true now than ever, some people respond better to the carrot than the whip. Simple as that. Some people need a little bit of love, tender love and care. Some people need to be whipped and said, some people need to be spoken to a little bit abrasively. Some people need that, and it drives them through walls. if they believe in the coach and if they believe in what, and hey, they're looking out for the best interest of you. Some people need the carrot, though. Do you think Barry Trotz is able to give the carrot to the young guys? I could tell you, hell no.
He refused, rather starve their asses out. That's what made Bill Parcells, and I always say this, right? I always say this on the show. Great coaches don't try to change something that a player does extremely well. You don't try to jam him into your system. You mold your system around the player. And I also have always said that, when you're coaching someone, and the things that made like Bill Parcells such a great coach, he wanted to get on Lawrence Taylor. He couldn't yell at Lawrence Taylor. He'd yell at, Harry Carson or Carl Banks or somebody else talking about Taylor, but he wouldn't yell right at him because Taylor would turn him off. And here's the thing. A good coach knows the right buttons to push. When I was coaching, I could talk to certain players a certain way, and other ones I had to handle with kid gloves. You learn that. He knows exactly how to handle and get the most out of these players.
Yeah.
I mean, and he didn't do it. With the young guys, he just has a one-way approach. You're young. Screw you. I'm going to treat you like a dirty dog.
Well, here's something I want to go ahead and show you. This regarding, again, the Kevin Kurtz article was unbelievably insightful. We talk about when there are insightful articles. We talk about also when they're kind of joke articles. This is a fantastic one. I could not recommend this enough. If you don't have the subscription, it's worth looking into, even to have a free subscription or a free trial. This article is great. He says, this from a source: when you wait a week to fire a guy, you're obviously listening to the players in their meetings, the source said. It wasn't done right after the season was over. He took a week. He met with the players, and obviously the players' voices have been heard, and this is the result. We had asked multiple times, do you think the players are just tuning them out? I don't see the Islanders fighting for every little piece, every inch on the ice like they had in the past. They did that. When Barry Trotz first came here, every single night, the Islanders are fighting for every inch on the ice. And we said, I wasn't seeing that much lately. And we said it could either be one or two things. The guys are just too old in the room and can't go ahead and do it anymore. They can't do it on over 82 game season, which is very possible still. That conclusion is still very possible. Or they tuned them out. I think both of those items could be possible. They can't play that system over an 82 game year, and maybe they tuned the coach out a bit. When
you see Anders Lee playing like a dog the whole year up till the 2 weeks prior to the deadline, all of a sudden he's chasing guys back on the back check. He's coming back and playing aggressive defense. All of a sudden, it's because his knee is all of a sudden fantastic. Then to 2 weeks after the trade deadline, then he goes back into his coma that he played in most year. It wasn't because he was feeling injured. Absolutely freaking not. It's because he was one of the entitled ones. He never had to put out. But one thing that I heard today from every other bombshell, no one could believe it. No one could believe this. Well, guess who could believe it? According to some sources, some of the players on the Islanders were not surprised by Monday's apparent bombshell, according to a league source. Is it fun to play that way, the source said? Is it fun to have your stick in a certain lane all the time? You don't play with instinct. It all adds up after a while. With his style of play and his structure, you're either all in or you're not. If you're not all in, it's not going to work. It's that simple. And another Eastern Conference team executive echoed that sentiment. When you play the Islanders, the way the Islanders play, it's a hard way to play night in, night out, year in, year out. It takes incredible discipline. That's why I think teams that play that way, that always have to change a few pieces out every year, no matter how sexual they are, as to make sure they bring new life into the team. And that's the one thing that we have not done. And I told you, it's too hard to play that style. But tell me that source is not Matt frickin' Barzal.
It sounds a lot like what I'd expect Matt Barzal to say. Remember the conspiracy theory? Oh, yeah, Matt Barzal. Oh, man, he gets along just fantastic with Barry Trotz. You mentioned the screaming match, right? Here's the thing. It's not like we're making this shit up.
Nope.
It's not, right? How can you explain a guy who's had Twitter for 10 freaking years, has 400 likes, averaging about, 40 likes a year, a like a month, about a few likes a month, right? 3 maybe likes a month, maybe a little more. Maybe 1 month he goes ahead and hits a few more likes.
He likes puppies. He likes cats.
He
likes
likes
mothers on Mother's Day.
He likes items his publicist or whatever his media relationship guy, when he's tagged in it doing, events, charity events, right? He likes those ones, right? Marty St. Louis comes out and speaks.
One more. I like White Castle after a long night of the game. And all of a sudden he likes Marty St. Louis. Okay.
Oh, well, he likes the Marty St. Louis post. And it says that sometimes with these systems, right, coaches can get too steadfast on them. It takes the reads out of the game, and it could turn a more talented player into an average guy. He likes to tweet. Then, after it gets brought up on social media, Nicole Sherman brought it up. Props to Nicole. All of a sudden, Matt Barzal likes it. I don't know, right? If you look at an isolated event, you could just say, yeah, that doesn't matter. It's all these events that compile. It's not like it's just one isolated event. All these things compile. And here's something else I want to also bring up. Speaking about the disdain possibly Matt Barzal had towards Barry Trotz, James Nichols grumpy. Now he took a new job. He's working, not going to say. But anyway, he says the real Kuiper, I don't know who TJMS, I'm sure it's an abbreviation for something, indicates that there was a void between Matt Barzal and Barry Trotz. The same source as below indicating to me back in February, if it came down to choosing between Trotz and Barzal, the Islanders would choose Barzal. Now here we are. Wow.
Who didn't know that? And what does that tell you, TJ? What do I always say? Coach or players, who's more important?
Players.
Thank you very much. It's the players. It's never the coach. Coach always goes, players stay. Positive news for the Islanders. Absolutely positive news for the Islanders. Matt Barzal will be re-signed.
Yes.
No doubt in my mind. And here's more positive news. I think now they're in on Philip Forsberg. Maybe even make a push for Johnny Gaudreau. I think they're in on those guys now.
I think it's easier to sell a team because remember, we had talked about what was the relationship, and I tried to play devil's advocate. I really did. And I didn't know the relationship that they had beforehand. I didn't know the relationship that Philip Forsberg possibly had with a guy like Barry Trotz. I said it either meant one or two things. He loved Barry Trotz and can't wait to play with him again, or says, I'm never playing with that son of a bitch again. One of the two. Well, this is an article written from the Fansided years ago. And let me go ahead and remove it. I know it's small, but let me go ahead and remove the bottom layout here. This was written years ago. It says the Nashville Predators have taken a drastic step in demoting Philip Forsberg to the AHL, where he'll get more playing time than he would in the NHL. The reason behind that is simple. To this point, Coach Barry Trotz has shown zero willingness to work with the youngster while helping him develop his game. It doesn't matter how good the player is; they aren't going to learn the ins and outs of being a responsible Nashville-type forward while playing 5 or 6 minutes a night. That's exactly what the Predators were doing with Forsberg, though. And the promising youngster will get to work on his chops with the Milwaukee Admirals for the time being.
And thank you to Rich Arnold for digging that up. Again, exactly what I mentioned earlier. The people who are part of the Islanders community, part of this podcast community, part of the show. Thank you, Rich.
Thank you, Rich. Absolutely. And again, maybe he loved Barry Trotz. Maybe he did. I don't imagine as a young player that would make me feel the warm and fuzzies. Maybe it didn't bother him at all. I'm just bringing those things up. Well, maybe these all added in. What do you think Johnny Gaudreau would say? Yeah, I can't wait to play the Barry Trotz style of hockey.
Nope.
Do you think he was ready to sign up for that? Nope. We had talked about the strengths and the weaknesses of this team, right? We talked about Ilya Sorokin is a playoff plus goaltender, right? He's a goalie that's a fantastic playoff caliber goalie. Unbelievable in the regular season. He's a top 5 goalie in the NHL. We had talked about our defense is playoff plus, and especially if we added that left-handed defenseman, I believe our defense, a puck-moving left-handed defenseman, I believe that our defense was one of the best in the league if we were able to do that. I believe with the defense and goalie tandem, right, the back end was one of the best in the NHL. The biggest issue was our forward group. If you have felt the room and you've contacted agents, and again, maybe they have, maybe they haven't. All I'm going to say is, even if it's against the rules, would it shock me at all if Lou Lamoriello just happened to make a call or reach out to a good old buddy of his? What, Grumpy?
They all talk ahead of time. Come on.
I know they talk ahead of time. That's why they've got a deal worked out as soon as the first day of free agency hits for a certain dollar amount. As soon as it hits, it's not like it just randomly comes to them.
They bump into guys in freaking arenas all the time.
Oh, hey, buddy, if you were to be getting so don't trust me, right? It wouldn't shock me at all if these general managers, these connections talk with agents before they can go ahead and sign them as an unrestricted free agent. I'm not saying it happens all the time, but it wouldn't shock me at all. Would they shock you if maybe he had felt the room a little bit and kind of felt around about top end forwards, right? He says he's willing to trade for one, but
no, he's willing. He wants a hockey trade for
a forward,
the defenseman, but he's willing to trade guys who are forwards. So that tells me and what have I said all year? We have to move some forwards out to bring new ones in. That is a must. That's what he's talking about.
Oh, man.
But what does it do? It opens up a door where now, depending, of course, who's going to be your coach, but it's not going to be Barry Trotz. Let me just put it to you that way.
Lou is all about accountability, and they missed the playoffs. I think that sometimes in our league, everybody wants to talk. Everyone wants to look at excuses like there were injuries, there was COVID, and there were all these things. But Lou's history has been that he's looking for results, and they underachieved. Think about this.
Lou fired
Anders, real quickly. Anders Lee, a first-line left winger for us, missed almost all of last year. Missed, I want to say, about 60% of last year in all the playoffs. The Islanders were still able to regroup and come together as a team and as a unit and make it to the Eastern Conference Finals without a guy who's on a top-line left wing for them. We didn't have Ryan Pulock missed 8 or 10 weeks. That was the injury, right? He didn't even miss the whole year. We had Anders Lee out the entirety of last year, pretty much. What, from game 20-something on? He missed 60, I think a little around 60 regular season games in all the playoffs. The results are still there. We were healthy compared to last year. We've been a very healthy team year in, year out.
Just remember that it says Lou's history has been that he's looking for results. Do you remember when Lamoriello, well, you don't remember, TJ, weren't alive, but Lamoriello fired Jacques Lemaire a week before the playoffs and installed Larry Robinson. They won the cup, and with New Jersey Devils. So he knows he knows the temperature of the room. He knows there's too many veterans on this team. He knows it. It's how can he get rid of them? How can we jettison some veterans to get more change on this team, more young players involved all the time? Kiefer Bellows deserves a shot next year. Oliver Wahlstrom, the next coach who comes in, isn't going to browbeat him and treat him like a piece of garbage. He's going to work with him. The kid was good. The kid was good at the beginning of the year and fell off the planet the second half. Those are just facts.
Here's something also that's worth mentioning. If you see guys like Oliver Wahlstrom, guys like Kiefer Bellows step up their game in a big way, it validates that point 100%. I will say this. Just because we fired Barry Trotz, ladies and gentlemen, does not mean we are automatically a better team next year.
No.
This was not all on him this season. It wasn't.
Nope.
Veterans in the core group of this team did not perform. And we asked this. I said that both things could be very well true. Could the players just be at an age to where they cannot compete at the same compete level that they were under Barry Trotz? Yes, I think that's true. Is it maybe that the system and the players kind of tuned out Barry Trotz? They just were like, meh, whatever, white noise. They're ready to get to see Brock Nelson. Man, so many things went wrong this year. I'm just ready to regroup and get ready for next year. What?
Guys like Barry Trotz, John Tortorella, Mike Keenan, guys who are so structured and regimented, that's why they have short shelf lives. They just do. Because professional athletes, they'll tolerate a little bit as long as they're winning. But when they start losing, the coaches have to go because the players just, we're not doing what he says anymore. It's a grind. Not that they don't want to win or don't want to do what's necessary to win, but they don't want to be like automatron robots. They don't want to be like that. Matt Barzell despised playing for Barry Trotz. Hated it.
I think things were okay, right? We've always said one thing. Doesn't matter how much you may be unhappy in a situation. If you're winning games, that kind of plasters over some of the disdain. When you're able to win games and you're successful, you can kind of be like, ah, shit, I really don't like this, but hey, we're winning games. I can't complain, right? I see the results. I can't complain. When you're not winning games, things completely change. And is it right for a general manager? Let's say, Barry Trotz, or let's say Barry Trotz and Matt Barzal didn't get along like buddies, like college pals. Is it wrong for them to say, yeah, he was kind of ready to walk if we didn't get rid of Barry Trotz? I don't think we could afford to lose a guy like Matt Barzal, and I think this is something important you have to take into account. Matt Barzal did have a down year this year. Matt Barzal is a guy whose skill set was not optimized under Barry Trotz. Matt Barzal is a guy who excels with, again, if he had another playmaker on his line and a guy who is a true sniper, you would really see Matt Barzal excel. If we open things up a little bit more offensively and maybe didn't browbeat the shit up, how many times in years past did he maybe that's also added up to it, because he said it wasn't just this year. How many last year he benched? Noah Dobson makes a mistake in the defensive zone last season. Well, he's going to sit on the bench the entire third period. Oh, Matt Barzal takes a dumb penalty. Well, he's going to sit on the bench the entire third period. Oh, I didn't like this. You're going to sit on the bench for 10 minutes.
And just one more piece, just talking about Matt Barzal in the Kurtz article again, which is great if you get a chance to read it. Then there's the still young Matt Barzal. The 24-year forward is the most individually talented player on the Islanders roster, but saw his ice time and role reduced over the second half of the season. He's eligible to sign a long-term contract extension this summer as a restricted free agent. What does that tell you? Matt Barzal. You think Matt Barzal was happy about being demoted to a third-line center?
Before he has a chance to go ahead and sign himself a contract. Please. A forward like that needs to be scoring points and needs to be producing if he wants to sign himself a big contract. And under Barry Trotz, when you see his production, first year, and again, under the Doug Waite system, we were a miserable team. First half of the season, things were working out great until they figured out how to get around the run and gun style and no defense that was the New York Islanders. And Barry Trotz instilled defensive system. He instilled fantastic. I mean, the goalie coaches between Pierre Greco and Mitch Korn are phenomenal. There's a lot of things that Barry Trotz brought with him. Unbelievable defense and structure, turned our miserable defense overnight. And think about this. Overnight, we went from a team that allowed over 300 plus goals a season with Doug Waite to a team that allowed 200 and change. We trimmed over 100 goals against off our season total from the year when Doug Waite was the head coach to the year when Barry Trotz was the head coach. Shit like that doesn't happen by mystery, right? Everybody bought in and had believed in the us against the world mentality. They really did. And again, you can galvanize a troop over there. The troops like that. And sometimes coaches just have a certain shelf life, right, wrong, or indifferent. They could be a fantastic coach. Sometimes they tune the guy out.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I just think that's what happened there. I just do. Like I said, now, if I'm the Islanders, hey, we have cap money. We can move some veterans off of the forward group. Yes, we need a top 4 left shot defenseman. Absolutely, we do. Without a doubt. Vince Dunn, Jacob Chikrin, whoever. Move out a couple of veterans who are in the forward group. If you have to sacrifice Anthony Villiers, as long as you get rid of a Josh Bailey type, and maybe you try to talk to some of these guys who have, limited no trade clauses, get rid of them too. And then you try to bring in a Forsberg, a Gaudreau. Then you're right back in the mix. In my opinion, then you're right back in the mix. Still not perfect, because we got too many older guys who can't skate on this team, but it improves team speed automatically, makes us better offensively.
Let me ask you about this. Now, Brock Nelson was a guy who was unbelievably inconsistent before Barry Trotz. He is a guy we have said has benefited more than any other Islander under Barry Trotz. He's coming off of a career year. Let me ask you this. Do you expect him to have a significant tail off in his game, possibly with a new coach?
I
loved his performance. I'm a big Brock Nelson guy. Always have been a big fan of Brock Nelson, right? I think that I hope and I pray that it's not his success has been completely as derivative of the system and him buying in and playing that system to a T. I hope it's not that.
Maybe he's a guy. Here's the thing. Barry loved him to death. And he was a Barry guy.
And he played fantastic under Barry.
and
He
he
played
did.
phenomenally under Barry
The
Trotz.
most improved player under Barry Trotz of the veterans was Brock Nelson. No
Yes.
doubt about it. And he still can be streaky, but without a doubt, he kind of leveled that out a little bit. Way more consistent than he had been earlier in his career. He's not a guy, though, I'm looking to move right now. I would have said last week, I would have said if somebody offers me 2 number ones for him, I'd move him. Because for me, when Barry's your coach, you're not going anywhere with the same group. You weren't. But now with Barry gone, and the reason was that I don't think anyone who has any offensive talent was going to come here as a free agent. I just didn't feel that way. Now there's a potential for that. So I'm not looking to get rid of Brock Nelson right now. I mean, I'm looking to add to the pieces now, where before I wasn't, but now I am.
It's crazy how a different system change and a different voice in a room can energize a group. Again, whether it's right, wrong, or different, it's just the facts of things. It's why you see the fired coach bounce that they get across all sports. Sometimes when you fire a coach, they kind of just had tuned him out. They could bring in an interim guy and he does a fantastic job. Simple as that. Regarding what I expect from this team this offseason, my expectations are much higher. I was fearful of we were going to probably roll the same group out there. Maybe we'll sign back Nick Leddy because good old Barry Trotz likes Nick Leddy. I don't think that's the case. I think that, I was fearful of that originally because of how much Barry Trotz loved Nick Leddy. And I always believe that the head coach and the general manager are somewhat on the same page. Maybe they aren't on some cases, but in order to keep your relationship healthy, you have to be agreeing on some of the player personnel decisions. It can't be like every player personnel decision the general manager makes, the head coach hates, right? It can't be like every single head coach decision the general manager hates. They have to be on the same page on some of these items. And I really thought that if Barry Trotz was still here, we were probably going to sign Nick Leddy as our left-handed defenseman and say, that's it. That's it. We'll just wash our hands, and that's what we were doing at the left defense spot.
Yeah, I don't see that happening at all now.
I don't see that happening either. Now, here's the other thing. We're going to find out really quickly who was right and who was wrong, who was more to play. We've played this scenario out 1,000,000 times. Is Lou Lamoriello more at fault or is Barry Trotz more at fault? We're going to find out really freaking quick. We're going to find out based off of what Lou Lamoriello can do with a new head coach. Can he attract the talent needed? Right? We've never had a real big free agent signing ever in the history of the Islanders. Andrew Ladd. What will the excuse be if Lou Lamoriello is unable to attract a big name free agent? They have cap space, right? And now they're showing, hey, they're willing to move some forwards. They need production out of some guys, but they're willing to move guys around. Where in the past, maybe we're a little hesitant to believe that, right? They're willing to make moves. They need performance out of the older guys, though, too. If they're unable to attract a big name free agent, as they're in New York or they're on Long Island, they've got the brand spanking new arena. They got the brand spanking new practice facilities. You've got an unbelievable general manager or a guy who's heralded. I'm sorry. I don't want to say he's unbelievable because it's still the jury's out on him, I believe. But a guy who's heralded as general manager of the year the last 2 years. And depending on who he brings in as a coach, what's the excuse if you're unable to sign a big name free agent? What's the excuse? I can't think of one. I really can't. There's always excuses that this fan base comes up with. The reason why we couldn't get Panarin because of this. We couldn't do this because of that. Every single time we come up short in the offseason, there is a plethora of excuses. Oh, they didn't like Tarasenko's this. They didn't like that. You know what? There's no more excuses at this point. Lou Lamoriello has complete control over who he puts in charge as head coach. If you're unable to garner a big name free agent, I think that falls right on Lou. You have the best arena, the best practice facilities. You're in a big market. You're on Long Island. You're in New York, for God's sake.
I'm going to tell you what else. Oliver Wahlstrom is safe, and the younger players are safe. That much I feel confident in that as well. I don't think Lou wants to jettison I don't think he wants to get rid of Wahlstrom.
Well, let me ask you this, too. Do you think it also had to do with we talk about ownership a bit. Do you think any pressure came from ownership? And I like to play right devil's advocate. Do you think ownership said, this is an unacceptable year, this can't happen next year, how are we going to fix that problem?
All I know is that Lou said the only people who knew were Barry, Lou, and ownership. I guarantee you that they talked about it. The owners aren't just sitting there with thumbs up their butts. Oh, yeah, Lou, do whatever you want. No, they have input. You know what they said? Lou, the stands are freaking empty. The people are booing us night after night. We don't like the fact that the Rangers, when we have a home game, have 70% of the crowd in their favor. That cannot happen. We need to put a more exciting product on the ice. We need to win. What happened this year?
Yep. Yeah.
I mean,
trust me, I'm in 100% agreement with you there, Grumpy. It's
their business, their fans, yes, but they're businessmen first.
Yep. And the bottom line is, right, I think Frank says it here all the time. Season ticket holders, when you have inflation, 8.5% rolling inflation, you've got season ticket holders. On average, they went up, I think, $1 a game, or went up about $1 a game. And season ticket holders are down 34% at this mark to where they were last year. Trust me, it wasn't like, hey, with a great late playoff push over here, we're going to go ahead and be fantastic. We didn't have that this year, right?
How would a line of Barzell, Forsberg, and Gaudreau look?
Let's not jump.
I'm just saying.
Lou Lamoriello is God.
I'm just saying. How would a line like that look? Pretty good.
I will say I'm very interested. I think we talk about the offseason, right? Offseason after offseason. This offseason will tell us everything we need to know about Lou Lamoriello. And is he a senile old man who hockey has passed him by, or is he a guy who still has a few tricks up his sleeve?
I just wish he had an assistant. I still wish he had a young assistant.
I'm not opposed to that either.
To kind of help him. I mean, he knows more hockey. He's forgotten more hockey than we know, right? Let's be honest.
He's forgotten more hockey than you, me, and every other member of this show who listens. I mean, if you added them all up, maybe, and squared it, and they still probably know he's forgotten more hockey than we know, right? We're not.
That being said, I still don't think he's as literate with how the modern day NHL is right now. And that's why I want a young, progressive general manager to assist him. That's what I want, a younger assistant GM to assist him as a team. That's what I want. Because then you could see, okay, we're making the transition. Because we have to transition from this group. Have to. Maybe now we're going to see that expedite a little bit. All you were doing, as I said in previous podcasts, was just kicking the can till next year when you're going to have to do it anyway. So now it starts a year early. It should have started last offseason, but it's starting this offseason, I would hope. That's what we need to see going forward as Islander fans.
Oh, man. I'll tell you. This year's a big off season. I can't reiterate that enough. And who Lou Lamoriello hires as next head coach is unbelievably important. Right? There's a lot of names out there. One name that people will say, I never want to see him coach again in the NHL. Obviously, we're talking about Joe Quenneville. The item to speak about with Joe Quenneville, and we will stay and remain consistent on this as we always have. We never, and I mean never, rush to judgment on something that happened like that behind closed. It's the same reason why with Deshaun Watson, we said we're going to wait until more evidence and more items come out before we thrash and throw him under the bus. Same thing we said with Trevor Bauer. The same thing we say with Joe Quenneville, right? The guy's an unbelievable coach. And apparently, as of
best coach in the league. Best coach in the league.
Has off the ice issues, perhaps? Yeah, sure. Maybe.
From 10 years ago.
I couldn't tell you. Maybe he does. Maybe he was hideously vile regarding what he did in that situation. Maybe he was the biggest scum piece of trash on the earth. And maybe he looked at it and said, we're firing this guy and we want to keep the media attention. I have no earthly idea what happened in that situation, and neither does anybody else.
He was scapegoated. My opinion is he was scapegoated.
He might be
something that happened 10 years ago. Sorry. I'm going to say again, if you want to be judged on what the social norms are today, 30 years from now, all before it. I don't judge anybody in the past based on what today's norms are.
Forced sexual action is never okay.
He wasn't involved in that.
Okay, it never has been okay. All I'm going to say is maybe the biggest piece of scum on the earth, maybe he was somewhat innocent. I have no earthly idea. None at all. All I will say is this. As of May the 1st, apparently, you could reach out and contact him about potentially coaching or having some sort of implication about him on a future NHL team. And apparently there were multiple teams that reached out to him.
Absolutely. Because he's the best coach in the league. And you know what?
You still have to get approval from Gary Bettman. And here's the thing. I will be very interested to see if his name gets brought up amongst us and other head coaching vacancies. I have no idea. Maybe he'll never coach another NHL team ever again. And maybe that's right. Maybe he will coach another another NHL team, and maybe that's correct. All I'm going to say is I don't have all the information. I don't think any of us have all the information on that one. Again, maybe the biggest piece of scum on the earth. Maybe he's not.
I don't say that. He didn't do anything. He didn't do it. His crime was not doing enough. That was his crime. And he got retroactively fired 10 years later on a different team. That's horseshit. I'm sorry, that's horseshit. Again, absolute bullshit. Sorry. I'm going to ask you, Islander fans, let's say you were on the verge of winning a Stanley Cup and you had something happen. Would you want someone to derail the team for winning? I don't know. Maybe you would. Like I said, I don't even know this whole thing. I just don't like how it's thrown at Joel Quenneville's feet. He said he didn't even really know about it. The GM did, and they got rid of this guy at the end of the season. I could see why they keep the guy through the season when you're in the playoffs. I can understand their logic. I'm not saying it was right, but I can understand it. And once again, it was 10, 11 years ago. Times were different. They just were. They were different.
Okay, it wasn't acceptable to be going like, okay.
I didn't say it was acceptable. I just said times were different and people looked at things differently 10, 11 years ago. That's all I'm saying. To judge him by today's standards, something that happened 11 years ago is just not fair. I don't think it's fair. He's suffering for it. He's paying for it for something he did or didn't do 10 years ago. What did they think he should have done? What did they think he should have done? Beach didn't even go to Quenneville. He didn't even go to Quenneville.
Again, this story happened so long ago. I can't tell you I'm as read up on it as much as I need to be. So it's one of those things I'm going to have to explore again. All I know was, right, I don't think we'll ever know the exact truth as everything that happened. I don't think we will.
Long story short.
I don't know. Here's the thing. We may not even explore that avenue. I'm just saying if he's allowed to coach again, he's a fantastic head coach. And if everything checks out background wise, and if they determine that, hey, he explained the situation and it makes sense to Lou Lamoriello, it makes sense to the ownership group, I could see us exploring that avenue.
Long story short, Joe Quenneville will coach again sometime in the future. He absolutely will.
Might not be with us. Maybe
it might not be with us. It might not be with us. But he's certainly the best coach available. And why would he not get a second chance? I mean, aren't we big on giving people second chances? Except for what? Hockey coaches? Because why? I don't know.
So, it's one of those items to where
his thing. It is what it is.
Don't be upset if somebody starts tying our name to him, because they're going to look at this situation and say, oh, Lou Lamoriello is a great general manager. Oh, Joe Quenneville is a great coach. Maybe they're exploring that avenue. Nobody is going to know who Lou Lamoriello is exploring because he keeps everything so freaking tight to the vest. We will have no earthly idea. Do not buy into any of this, rumors. Here's the thing. I will not be buying into any rumors as to who we may be exploring or not. We might talk about, how this person might be a fit or not. I have no freaking idea, and I don't believe any of the rumors that we see as, this coach is the front running. This coach is the favorite. We have no freaking idea on that. Lou will keep that shit as close to the vest as possible until the actual hiring happens. So don't lose your mind if you see, Quenneville's name's tied to us. Claude Julien's name. Don't be unbelievably unhappy based off of the names you see in the media, because I believe that is all bullshit. That will be all bullshit. They have no earthly idea on that, and we will have no earthly idea on that.
And Lamoriello said that he'll take his time. There's no timetable. Okay, I'm going to tell you what. They have to have a head coach in place before the season ends. Absolutely have to have a head coach in place, because if you go into free agency without a head coach, you might as well just, the season's over. Because who are you going to attract as a free agent if you don't even have a coach?
Yes. So he's been a guy, Lou Lamoriello, to use up all the time possible that he's afforded. I don't know. This is something I would love for him to be a little more proactive on. I do not want to see us waiting until free agency rolls around to make a decision like that, right? We need to be on the freaking 8 ball on this. Ideally, oh, shit.
I would do have a question.
Unless he knows that maybe a coach is going to get fired, or a coach that he maybe has spoken with that he loves, and they're just working items out. But I really think that to fire Barry Trotz like that too, he has to have at least somebody in mind. I would like to think that. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm completely dead wrong on that, but I hope I'm not.
Okay. One thing, if it was going to be Lane Lambert,
He would have been hired already.
That's what I think as well.
So people, and again, like he asked about the assistant coaches. He said they're all under contract still. But I do believe if they were confident in getting Lane Lambert, or they wanted to bring in Lane Lambert, I think he would have already been hired. I think that he's a backup option perhaps. And I'm not sure he's the right answer either. I have no. You want to bring in a head coach that has experience, a head coach that has been successful before. Is that a guy like Claude Julien? There's a lot of options out there. There are a lot of options out there. Simple as that. A lot of them.
Guys who
do not need a first-time try-it-out coach, though. The team's window is finite. Has to have a coach that has experience, has playoff experience, and has been successful. I can't tell you one thing. That is what Lou Lamoriello, I think, will be looking for.
And I think that Alain Vigneault, all the coaches we're looking at are going to have some level of success in the NFL, in the NHL. I don't think you're going to see anybody who has not been a head coach before. I just don't see it. I mean, you look at guys like Vigneault. What about Mike Babcock? He's kicking around out there.
I like that one by D-Cut. I scrolled down. And again, Grumpy, I don't even know how many comments we have, but D-Cut leading up there. Brent Thompson, after the Bridgeport Islanders win the Calder Cup, Brent Thompson will climb the ranks. He's had his hand on every single one of these players in some capacity, maybe throughout his time.
I'm going to predict that is not the case.
I love
it. To sum, because I know we have the ad to read, but just to sum up real quick, Barry Trotz was a great hire by Lou Lamoriello, the best move he has made as general manager since he's been here.
Yes.
Was signing with Barry Trotz. Best move, without a doubt. Things just didn't work out at the end. The players tuned him out. One quick other thing. We're going to draft offensive talent at the top of the draft this year. We're not going to be drafting grinders anymore. That much I can guarantee as well. No more grinders as first-round picks. We're going to be drafting skilled players. That's what we're going to be drafting.
Here, Jesus Christ. Here's what I'm looking at, Grump. This doesn't automatically mean we're in a better situation than we were beforehand. It doesn't.
No. Because
we may take up a coach who wants to play, hey, I'm all offense all the time, which I don't think is the right move for us. I think you need to I think you still have to keep somewhat of that defensive system intact, right? Yeah. That's where the majority of our players have excelled. You can't go from a guy like Barry Trotz to a Doug Waite-esque type coach. You can't do that. You can't do it. It has to be a coach that is in the same, if they're in the same tree, right? It's not like they're apples to oranges. It's like we're going from an orange to a mandarin, right? It's got to be something like that. It's got, it's got to be something comparable, right? We have to incorporate a little bit more of freedom on the offensive side, a little more freedom in our own zone. But you still have to stick true to, I think, somewhat of Barry Trotz's system. I think that has brought out the best in a lot of different players on this team, and sometimes a new voice, but similar coaching style may be successful. I'm not saying he has to be apples to apples or orange to orange. He needs to be in the same sort of tree. And that might upset people. I'm not reading the comments right now because, again, I'm sure when I pop away from the screen on the comments, I look back at, 5 seconds later or 5 minutes later, we've got another 60 comments. So, occasionally I'll scroll to the bottom. But man, oh man, you cannot go drastic from all defense, system to no system, all offense. That's something you can't do and expect to be successful.
But if you listen to Lou, number one priority. Number one priority is getting a left-handed defenseman, top four, who has the ability to score and move the puck. So that tells me we're going to transition away from the grind it out, live in your own zone type to kind of evolve a little bit, if you will, not a revolution, but an evolution into what the modern NHL is becoming. Defensemen who can move the puck quickly out of the zone and help generate offense. That means no more Zdeno Charas, no more Andy Greens. You have a Noah Dobson. You have him. You get another guy, and then you have Robin Salo, if you manage to hold on to him. Now you have three defense pairings with a puck mover on each one. And I'll tell you what, then you're ready to go as far as I'm concerned defensively. And if you move a couple of forwards out of there, get another couple of high-scoring wingers in there, then we're in the mix. All the guys that you're hearing rumored, they're not all running gun coaches. They're all guys who've been in the league a while. They know how to play offense and defense is what we need. We didn't know how to play offense under Barry Trotz. Everybody else knows how to play that type of game.
We were one of the worst offensive teams 5-on-5 this year. Not even close, right? Our power play, think about this. Our power play took a huge jump after Noah Dobson really started stepping his game forward. Our power play wasn't as miserable as it has been in years past, and I really attribute a lot of that to Noah Dobson's development. Here's the thing. Barry Trotz is able to develop and help the development of young defensemen. He really is. He's able to help them take that next step forward. And I think, right, he did a fantastic job with that with Noah Dobson, right? That huge step forward. I'm not saying, it's all because Zdeno Chara, Big Z, took him under his tutelage and took him under his arm. No, not saying that. Did it help? I'm sure it did. He had to play, as grumpy old man says, two positions at once with Big Z back there on defense. But,
I disagree. I can't disagree more. It's when Noah Dobson decided to, maybe Barry just took the shackles off from earlier in the year. He was so scared of making a mistake. And then about halfway through, he's like, screw it. I'm rushing the puck up. He's always had the ability. He just wouldn't do it because, Barry would bench him if he made a mistake. Instead of running with the young guy, letting it develop, think about how much further he'd be along if he'd actually let him play his game the whole time. Was he great defensively? No, but he's much, much better now. And that Barry helped him with, but he also shackled him offensively. And that's why our power play was shit in the bed early in the year. It's because Dobson was playing too tentative at the top. He's not tentative anymore. And that's what made him, that's why he's got over 50 points a year. The sky's the limit for that kid. If you have two guys like that on your team, watch out.
For certain. We're going to try to get definitely through some of the comments. And the head coaching hire is so unbelievably important for Lou Lamoriello. Unbelievably important. Unbelievable. I can't stress that enough. I can't. If you don't hire the right guy, and you're up shit's creek. And this doesn't automatically mean we're in a spot to where we're better next year. It doesn't. So let us be the first people to go ahead and sing that from the mountaintops, right? This doesn't guarantee us more success next year. I do find it hard to believe that we'll perform worse next year than we did this year. I think that even if we have marginal improvement, I think that is at least bare minimum to be expected. But I think it'd be hard to replicate as poor as we played this year. It really would be.
Wow, there are a lot of comments today.
Yeah, Grump. There's a lot of comments. Said, hey, we love them. We love the comments. We love the interaction with you guys. We're going to try to read, as many as we can. And again, we won't be able to get through all of them. And I said that at the top, but always, guys, we appreciate the input. We're going to read the good, bad, and the ugly, right? If you're saying, hey, we're a moron, we'll read it. If you say, hey, we love your point, we'll read it. It doesn't bother me. It's water off a duck's back. I don't care. We just speak what we think is true. And it's funny, right? The things we were speaking at, we were ridiculed for in the first half of the season. We were ridiculed for even at the end of the year, towards the tail end of the year, where the Islanders had this dead cat bounce when they started to play really well towards the trade deadline. We were still being ridiculed for our opinion there on certain items. Now, right? It looks like more people are saying, okay, maybe you're right. And it shouldn't just be the fact that Lou Lamoriello fired Barry Trotz that we're correct on that. It shouldn't be whether he fired him or not, those points were still valid. And again, as things progress, we'll let you know what our original opinion is on who he hires as a head coach. He could do a miserable job on that. He could do a fantastic job on it. He could do a horrible job this offseason regarding hockey trades. It still is yet to be seen that Lou Lamoriello has won a hockey trade for us, clear and undoubtedly, right? It's not like Lou Lamoriello avoids any sort of blame on this. Look at the hockey trades he's made. Jean-Gabriel Pageau at the deadline. We give up a first and a second for a third-line center. Kyle Palmieri, we trade essentially a first-round pick for, a guy who's a third-line right winger. We go ahead and trade a second-round pick for Andy Green. We trade away Devon Tays for 2 second-round picks. Maybe that had something to do with Barry Trotz. Maybe that was all Lou Lamoriello. We're just throwing ideas out there at this point. My God, we're not saying that we're 100% right. We're just throwing ideas out here and what we could possibly have seen had happened.
But we have heard some things. And we always change the names to protect the innocent. We're never going to throw anybody in the bus. So it seems like we're talking out of school. We'll never, ever do that. But we hear some things. And, it matches up with what I see when I actually look at the product. And I look at people's faces. I'm big on body language and facial recognition. And I see that, and I'm like, it's so obvious to me. And then you're hearing things. Yes. But TJ, why don't you get to the ad read real quick?
Yes, hockey fans, the pursuit of the Stanley Cup is on, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, has an unbelievable offer for the most exciting playoffs in sports. New customers can bet $5 on any team to win and get $100 in free bets no matter what, win or lose. Looking to turn a small bet into a big payday during the playoffs? With DraftKings same-game parlays, you can do just that. Create your own parlay by combining multiple bets, like which team will win and how many goals will be scored and more. It's your shot to take an even bigger payout. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. Best of all, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the promo code THPN and bet $5 on any NHL team to win and get $100 in free bets no matter what. That's promo code THPN at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. A minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See the show notes and additional details in the description. Grump, I am still feeling sick, but I'll tell you one thing. It was funny. I was just like, man, I could really use a little bit of time. I was feeling sick as all hell and get out this morning. Still am kind of feeling a little under the weather. But this Barry Trotz, firing has just like, whoa, it adds a little bit of a change in your day. And you go, holy crap, oh, man, I got to be on high alert. So high alert, Grumpy. But I'll let you make, Grumpy. I'm going to let you run with the floor of what you expect regarding our next head coach. I know we talked about we don't want to go too far away. I wanted you to go ahead and bring that up, and I'm going to use the restroom.
Why don't we just throw some comments up?
Yeah, because I can throw multiple comments up.
Just do that and then go to the bathroom.
You can't throw multiple comments up, Grumpy.
Okay. Well, I can just do a blow-by on some that I see, and we can just go with that.
How about that? Let's start off with that one. Lou, a little flick off sign, unhappy with Lou Lamoriello. Let's first talk about people who were unhappy. Grumpy, I'll let you talk with it first. People who were unhappy with Lou Lamoriello firing Barry Trotz. Why could they be unhappy? Are they right to be unhappy?
For me, I don't understand why you could be unhappy with Lou Lamoriello. Maybe you could be unhappy with the players that he's acquired over the last few years, but one thing he's been pretty good at is identifying when it's time to move on from a coach. That's his track record. He's been pretty good at that. So for me, this season was an indictment on Barry Trotz. It just was. It seemed like the guys weren't listening. Up and down. I just don't understand how you come out flat every game against bad teams. And once again, TJ always says, well, professionals need to get themselves motivated. Well, that's true to a certain extent, but you can't have, if teams come out flat every single game to start and you're down a couple of goals, what are you doing to rectify that? Maybe you need to simplify your system. I don't know but he had to do something and he didn't do anything. His handling of the young players has been a problem everywhere he's been. Again, his tenure here ended the same way it ended in Nashville and the same way it ended in Washington. Even after winning a Stanley Cup, he would not play the young players. That's why he was gone. They knew at mid-season he was gone after the year. They knew it. They made no effort to re-sign him. at the end of the season after winning a Stanley Cup. They wanted him gone. And look who they brought in, Todd Reardon. I mean, what does that tell you? How unhappy the players were. And here's the thing. Ownership and GMs know if the players are happy, unhappy. If they're all unhappy with the coach has to go. And I think that's what you saw here. A vast majority of the players were unhappy with the way things were going under Barry Trotz, particularly Matt Barzal. And that's the most important one.
Yeah, and I will say, too, I mean, obviously, we're recording this live during the NHL playoffs. The Rangers were officially beaten by the Pittsburgh Penguins 7-2. Pittsburgh leads the series 3-1 as items head back to the games head back to Madison Square Garden. Got here, the Florida Panthers won today in overtime against the Washington Capitals 3-2. That series is tied at 2 games apiece. You've got Colorado up already early, 1-0 on the Nashville Predators. They will probably sweep the Predators tonight. And you've got the Calgary Flames and the Dallas Stars at 0-0 early in the first.
There we go.
Yes, absolutely. And again, what were realistically you were expecting next year from Barry Trotz? Did you expect us in the offseason to be able to attract a guy like Johnny Gaudreau? To attract a guy who probably was maybe a little disgruntled. Maybe he loved. Maybe what Philip Forsberg was able to look back and with retrospect and say, "Oh yeah, I love the way Barry Trotz, sent me down to the A. He was looking out for my best interest. I treat him like a dad. He knew what was better for me at the time period, and I just couldn't see the forest for the trees. I'm very thankful for Barry Trotz." Maybe he had that relationship, but maybe he didn't. What realistically were you expecting the offseason to look like? Resign back Nick Leddy and go ahead and bring in a guy who isn't a top name winger? That wouldn't have been enough.
No, it won't. And we can talk about that Wednesday.
At least I have hope that things will look better. And, maybe the hope will be quick and it will fleet very quickly based off of what Lou Lamoriello does. But at least I have hope on that. Lose a backstab in POS. I hear Capuano is available. No freaking way. David C says, no big deal. Just 37 minutes late to an emergency podcast. Yeah. Joel saying smash the like button. Absolutely. Absolutely. Terry Simpson, ? Who's Terry Simpson?
He was an Islander coach after Al Arbor.
Okay. Gotcha. Well before my time. Rangers defense looks like trash out there, says Chris. Absolutely. I hope Lou goes down for a turf nap. I don't know, D-Cut. I know is angry. D-Cut seems angry.
He's very angry.
It's a field day for Grumpy. I was about to say, it seems like it. Lou is Benedict Arnold.
I mean, it's not a field day for me, but it's the right move. It's the right, and Lou will be gone after next year.
I'd like to think so.
Here's the thing. Do you think if they, let's say they have another bad year.
Lou is not infallible. And just because he made this move, it was the right move to make, I think. But just because he made this move doesn't eradicate all the other mistakes, I think, and mishandlings he's made in the past. He's done a few things very well. I think bringing Barry Trotz in here was fantastic. That helped bring our team in legitimacy. Simple as that. I think bringing Varlamov over to get Sorokin here was another big move that Lou made. That was huge. I think the contracts that Pelech and Pula, dude, Lou Lamoriello has handed out some really atrocious contracts. That's simple as it could get. I mean, that's sugarcoating it. He has handed out awful contracts. Sure. I mean, modified no trade clauses. Modified no move clauses, modified trade clauses, and just like, yikes. He's handed out some really shitty contracts while here as a general manager. He's traded for and traded away assets and been wildly underpaid and overpaid for those items. He has not done a good job in certain items. Him firing Barry Trotz should not be, oh, well, great, guys. This is fantastic. This is Lou Lamoriello's back to playing 4D chess. I don't think it's as easy as that.
If you want to get through some comments, you can't go on a 5-minute diatribe when we're talking about Barry Trotz today, not Lou Lamoriello. We have all offseason to talk about Lou Lamoriello.
Thank you for reminding me, Grumpy. Alexander says, Lou, you better be getting that. You better have that replacement in mind. You're not getting a pass as much as Trotz is. Trotz deserved to be fired. But Lou, your seat's getting warm. I agree.
True.
Angela N saying, let's go, boys, with the dogs. Look at that. Look at that. Thanks for the bonus episode this week, guys, says Scott L. Absolutely. Absolutely, Scott. Thanks for tuning in. Pony McCurtis saying, yo, boys, what's the WTF? Absolutely. Yeah, I know. Crazy. D-Cut also saying here, what's new? Lou takes zero blame and scapegoats his coach.
That's what it is. GMs have a longer shelf life than coaches. They do.
Lou Lamoriello was responsible somewhat for this too. It's
He's
not just
two-time
on Barry Trotz.
He's two-time GM of the year.
Ah, there you go. There you go. He was
Defending.
the other day. He should have been general manager of the year before they even voted, as some very, very great site said. Drew
Well,
L
actually
said-
some shitty ones too.
yeah, some bad ones said that too. The True L said the future is upon us. Get ready for the suckitude and building up of prospect. Here's the thing. People say this. We could be our window could have just closed. As simple as that. And maybe we fire Barry Trotz as one last hurrah to give ourselves a better chance to make a run this year. Maybe the window has already closed no matter what we do this offseason. That's very plausible. Here is the thing. If you continue to double down and if you continue to trade young players away, if Lou trades younger, valuable players away this offseason, the fall from grace will be even harder and faster than what we may have already experienced it in the fall, and we're in the fall right now. But if we continue to double down and get rid of young players, and we said, oh yeah, the Matt Barzals, the Oliver Washrooms, they're expendable. The Anthony Bevilliers, they're expendable because they didn't perform for us last year under Trotz's system. That would make the fall even worse.
I don't think that's what Lamoriello's thinking is.
That's what my thinking is.
That's a Barry thing. That's a Barry thing. Get rid of the young guys and keep the old guys.
Yeah.
I don't think Lou thinks like that.
Lou R said everyone was crying at who's putting the old farts in there. Now he's gone. People are losing their mind. That's right. People are losing their freaking mind. They're bananas and nuts.
We weren't winning next year anyway. Doesn't matter who the coach is, we're not winning. But now at least we have a shot to bring in some talented offensive players. Well, I don't think we had a shot at all when he was coach. Not at all.
I wonder how radical the changes are going to be for Lou Lamoriello regarding player personnel. I wonder how radical that's going to be, right? Because ideally, you want to hire your coach. You want to understand who he wants to keep, what opinions he has on players, and how they need to structure regarding free agents and trade possibilities.
What it does is it opens up a possibility to pick up some more skilled players who wouldn't even have considered us previously, because the players talk. Players talk to one another. They do. And believe me, you don't think Matt Barzal was telling people how miserable he was playing for Barry Trotz, where people were saying, geez, I'm not even considering there. That's what they're saying. I'm not going there. Why the hell would I go there? I don't want to play for that guy. Now it opens up a possibility of getting getting high scoring players, guys with some offensive talent on this team, where that was not an opening before.
D-Cut says Lou must go. Here's the thing. I'm not holding Lou. I'm not saying that this,
You've already said it 4 times. Go on.
Michael T said, well, now we have an unsettled coaching position. Not a good position to be in. Sooner we get a coach, the better.
And that's what's going to happen. It'll be before, it'll be a couple weeks tops, and we'll have somebody.
David D saying, yes, we're on. Brian P saying, what's up, fellas? What's up, Brian? Matthew C saying, well, Grump was right. Grump called it. Lou should fire himself as well. I wouldn't be opposed to that. I mean, here's the other item. Has Lou shown us I want to ask you one quick question, Grump. Has Lou shown us that he has the ability to win trades? I know we kind of briefly touched on it earlier, but do you feel confident he'll be able to win trades and player acquisitions this offseason and not wildly overpay the wrong players to make our team successful this next year? Has she shown us the ability to do that in the past? I would argue no.
No, I would say not necessarily. And he shouldn't fire himself, but what he should do is they should start transitioning away from Lou as full-time GM. He's 80 years old. It's not a crime.
Jonathan saying 2 trips to the conference finals with this subpar team, and you let the guy walk.
They didn't let him walk. They shit-canned him. There's a difference.
I think a lot of it had to do with stuff that's
Washington let him walk after winning a Stanley Cup. Yes, they've not been successful, but think about how toxic it had to be in that room. Players did not want to play for him. That's why they didn't care. He was gone mid-season.
Emmanuel R. said, I'm not surprised by the move. I'm more surprised that Lou didn't just let his contract run out. I'm guessing Lou saw what we saw with Barry's odd moves this year. So who is next? I think that Josh Bailey's as good as gone. Right? We had talked about.
I think he's talking about the coach.
Oh, so who? Oh, sorry. So who's next?
We'll talk about that Wednesday.
I was about to say throw any plethora of guys on the board because we'll have no idea. But I think that the hire's got to be right. The Wicked 50 Cal also says, hello, gentlemen. Long time no see on my part. I do apologize. No worries, Mr. Wicked 50 Cal. We don't, D-Cut says, when we don't make the playoffs for the next 5 years, who are you never trotters going to blame?
If we don't make the playoffs in the next 5 years, we weren't going to make them in the next 5 years with Barry Trotz as coach either.
Yep.
It's the problem was not necessarily Barry Trotz. The problem was the age and lack of talent in the offensive forward group. The reason why Barry Trotz was let go, in my opinion, is because Matt Barzell needs to be re-signed here. He would not re-sign with the Islanders if Barry Trotz was still here. Would not happen. You wouldn't see Oliver Wahlstrom or Noah Dobson or any of the young guys say, I want to play here forever. This makes sure that the young guys get to play on this team. They are the future.
And yep, it could just have the window could have already closed. Barry Trotz was no magic man to keep the window open. We saw what the window closed or partially closed looked like this year. Simple as that. He wasn't going to go ahead and bring out a crank and break the window back open. Not going to happen. Ariel C said, if Trotz was fired, Lou should be next.
He will be the next one.
I wonder, too, if Lou possibly fired Trotz. And again, I'm not saying Lou's incompetent. I've said it before in the past. I will wait after this recent move to declare who was more incompetent. I think it could still be Lou, who's more incompetent than Barry. Barry, the player personnel decisions always drove me nuts about him. And again, the steadfast system. That's what always made me, always rubbed me the wrong way a bit. How he treated the young guys, too. We talked about it. Those are the 3 bugaboos we had on Barry. Everything else we liked. But Lou Lamoriello, do you think he maybe could have fired Barry Trotz to keep his job secure as well?
No.
You don't think so?
Nope.
John Smith says, Oracle.
I will say one thing. Lou won't get a chance to hire another coach.
That's correct.
This is going to be his last coaching hire. He's 80 years old.
John P says, hi, gents. I'm at the end of the year function, but I'll watch the entire replay when I get home. By the way, did you read what Stan Fischler said in Sporting News about the firing?
No, I want to know what he said.
Oh, man.
I don't know.
And the myth, the legend. D-Cut says Barzal is a coach killer.
Unfortunately, coaches are who puts butts in the seats, and they're the people who actually win games.
My goodness.
Grumpy old man was right again. Go figure. Yeah, go figure.
Mario says, let me be the first to say this is one of the best things that has happened to the Islanders.
I agree. And it's not because Barry's a crappy coach. Just, every coach has a shelf life, and he reached it here. That's all. Time to move on. We need to move from his system to something more modern. This is not the 1990s anymore. It's 2020.
Charles D saying Grumpy was right. Alex H saying we are the curve. It needs to be a shirt. I was about to say now that Barry and the Vets is kind of old and passe.
Not going to sell too many of those. Unless people from Winnipeg or whoever wants to buy them.
I heard that. Maybe Winnipeg's a great fit. And here's the thing.
He's from Winnipeg.
I was about to say, Winnipeg makes great sense for him. And I think he could be I think the offensive pieces Winnipeg has are far better than the offensive pieces he inherited with us. Yep. And I think the strongest items he has, the goaltender, right? Hedlbuck is a good goalie, had bad years the last few years. I think he could straighten that out, and I think the defense could be ironed out under Barry Trotz. I think he would be wildly successful in Winnipeg, and you would see that first year they would bounce from an utter disappointment to a team that's around, one of the top 4 teams in the Western Conference.
Absolutely, I think they'd return to the playoffs. That's for certain. And here's the thing: Paul Maurice was there, right? He was, a great coach too. A couple of years ago, they were fantastic, and all of a sudden, eventually, players don't want to hear the same voice forever and ever. I mean, they have short shelf lives, these coaches.
Yeah.
Just facts.
I tell you. Yep. And then Robbie, hold on a second. These are the Stan Fischler tweets. I'll pop this up on screen, Grumpy, just so we're able to see that. Regarding the Islanders, Lou Lamoriello, he has always been proactive as a general manager. I had
Robbie Fatorik and Claude Julien can vouch for that. Bottom line, very simple. This group of players needs a new voice, but whose voice? Trotz was all class, but Lou felt it was time for change. Yeah, I mean, no one's questioning if Barry Trotz was an upstanding guy and a class act. No one's questioning
or
that.
if he was good for the organization. He was unbelievably good for the organization for the time he was here. He was.
Yep.
Towards the tail end, right? There were issues and they need to be sorted out.
Yep.
Simple as that. If Lou has no loyalty to Barry, he should have none to Bailey. He should be gone next. I agree.
I think Bailey's gone. I think he's as good as gone.
I remember we were worried that maybe he would try to get to 1,000 games. I think that he doesn't give two. I don't think Lou gives two shits about that. And good, he shouldn't give two shits about that.
If they can move him in part of a package to get Chikrin, I'm all for it. No first-round draft picks.
Would it not be crazy if we start completely changing our tune based off of what Lou Lamoriello does this offseason? Would that be nuts? And if it was always just Lou was trying to make sure that his head coach was best set up for success?
I always said that's what it was. From day one. Just look who they drafted. We don't draft for talent. When Lou was in Toronto, they were drafted talented players all the time. When he was in New Jersey, he wasn't drafting grinders in the first round. That's a Barry thing. Wants the guys who play the 200-foot game.
Noah W says, hear me out. Olli Jokinen. He coached Atu Ratu in the Finnish Elite League. Hey, I wouldn't be, if we were a young team, I wouldn't be opposed to a guy like that. Or if we have a window, it's so finite. We can't be rolling out an unknown entity out there like Olli Jokinen. And maybe he will be a good NHL coach one day. I just don't think the timing is right for us for a guy like that.
He's not ready yet.
I don't think so either.
He's not ready yet. Come on, he's not ready yet.
Nick D says, Grump, gloat as much as you can. Okay, Curve. From here on out, I'm calling you Grump Curve.
Here's the thing. I don't need to gloat. All you need to do is watch this podcast. Pretty much everything I say comes true.
Because said, the loss of Trotz is 10 times bigger than the loss of that snake Tavares.
Nah, disagree.
I think Tavares did hurt us because we didn't get anything back in return for him. That was the biggest thing that hurt us with John Tavares. But Trotz's system, when new, spackled over so many holes and deficiencies we had in this team. And what I think we saw last year and this year was the system and his voice just kind of went numb, and we saw the Islanders return back to what they always were before Trotz.
At least we could score then. But here's the thing. Trotz, I don't know. I forgot you went on too long. I forgot.
Oh, okay. What's up, Frank? How are you? Frank K also says here, what a day. I believe there are various reasons Trotz being gone, family, his treatment of younger players, etc. I believe Barzal gave an ultimatum.
That I firmly believe that he said, if he's here, I'm not.
Scott L saying here, I'm on the fence about the firing. On the negative, Trotz was the best head coach in Sal Arbor. I do agree with that. Positive, Wallstrom, Bellows, Barzal, and other younger players will not be held back and will be allowed, to put up offensive numbers that they were expected to.
I'll tell you somebody I don't want to see on this team is John Tortorella.
Hell no. John Tortorella would be one of the worst hires that we could have. Awful. I don't want John Tortorella. No freaking way.
He's too similar in style to Barry Trotz.
Remember when I said we needed to still go on the same tree, right? I said orange tree. Maybe we need a mandarin. Maybe it needs to be a little bit further away from a mandarin, but still needs to be a closer relative to the orange tree. We can't make such a stark change from all defense all the time, all system to no system, all offense. It needs to be a slow. Ideally, you want somebody who's in the middle on that.
Tortorella is more of a defense first guy, but he has an abrasive coaching style too. So I just think we need to get away from that now.
John Tortorella needs to sit his ass up there in the booth and sit his ass up there on the broadcasting station and just talk about the game, right? That's where I find him useful at these points. No use for him elsewhere.
And the Athletic also put out an article about possible replacements. We'll talk about those Wednesday.
Tony Cheese saying, what's up, guys? Why the emergency podcast? Good question, not Tony Cheese. I don't know why. Drew L said, all the Islanders fans are crying their ass off on Twitter. I'm just sitting here looking at the Islanders fans laughing hysterically. They looked at Trotz as Jesus Christ, the Lord and Savior. George P said, bring back Capuano.
Okay, can I just say one thing about that? What did the Islanders win under Barry Trotz?
Well, I think they looked at the prior years of hold on. The reason why these fans are upset is because they looked at the prior years of ineptitude and said, holy shit, we got close. Holy crap, we were there. We were at the Eastern Conference Finals in back-to-back years. We were on the precipice. And that's what I think they think.
My question is, what did we win under Barry Trotz?
Nothing.
We beat a couple of Metro Division teams in the playoffs. That's all we did. Couldn't even get out of our conference.
Brett W said here, the Islander fans are melting down outside of the ones who support this podcast. Well, glad I don't look too much on social media regarding that. I'm just, my God.
They couldn't see the forest for the trees. Barry Trotz needed to go. If it wasn't this year, it was next year. He was gone. Didn't matter.
I didn't think we had any chance no matter what. We would have had to make so many drastic moves in order to, remember I said we had to have a drastic, remember when I said we had to make or maybe I didn't say that. Maybe you were saying that, Grumpy, you need to make drastic moves. I thought we were a few pieces away. I honestly, go ahead.
2 top level wingers, 1 stud top 4 puck rushing defenseman. Then we're back. Then we're in the mix. If that doesn't happen, we're not in the mix.
Sad that this piece of shit Lou gave Trotz 0 credit for his successes. He was extremely successful. He should have given him success, but
I thought he was complimentary of him. I mean, what do you want him to say? Hey, he led us to 2 Eastern Conference Finals. We never won a division title, never won a Stanley Cup, never won a conference title. Is that what you wanted to say? Really a failure.
Michael T says, what's up, TJ? What's up, Grump? Good to see you both. So now that we have no coach, this is not a good position to be in. It's got to be Lane Lambert ASAP, right? I don't know. I would say probably not. Here's the other thing. I wouldn't support that either. I firmly believe we need a head coach that has a lot of experience, a head coach that has been in the playoffs, and a head coach that has been around the Stanley Cup. Could you see maybe Alain Vigneault?
He's a possibility. Claude
Alain
Julien.
Vigneault's a guy who's been extremely successful when he's gone. I mean, he wasn't successful in Philadelphia, but he was extremely successful in Vancouver. Didn't win the cup, got them there. He was extremely successful in the Rangers, got him to the cup. Didn't win one, but got him there. Montreal. He's been a very good coach. He's another guy who has a short shelf life. Occasionally, once he's at the point where the guys tune him out, he's useless. And that's how all coaches are.
That's right. That's how all not just him, all coaches are like that. Do you know that Lane Lambert is only 2 years younger than Barry Trotz?
Wow. I didn't know that.
57 looks damn good for 57.
He does. George B says, or Mike Milbury, bring him back. Eddie says here, what a glorious day. Bye-bye, Barry. Don't let the door hit your ass on the way out. Nancy Kerrigan, Lou. The question is, who do they hire? We'll explore that later. It's just so many things going on right now. They need to hire somebody who has playoff experience and someone who's been successful.
I just want to say one thing, D-Cut. I love you, but it's someone needs to galooly Lou.
Agreed with the grumpy old man. I got attacked for it as well, says Angela. And
don't worry, Angela, you're right now.
Oh, George P said, then we get to listen to the idiotic, we didn't get the puck luck on a nightly basis.
I hate saying, you know what? No.
He didn't do that. Well, thank goodness he didn't do that.
He did it a lot. He did a lot this year. That's one thing. Guys, and Belichick does it too. When you got Brady and you're rolling, you can say, yeah, it's all about team, this, that, and the other thing. All of a sudden you're losing. It's all of a sudden you're making excuses. And this year we heard a lot of excuses. Don't make excuses. I don't want to hear them. Play better.
Emmanuel R says here, let's not pretend this team had any other direction to go but up. Have we all forgotten about the abysmal Capuano? Any half-decent coach is going to improve the team. That it couldn't get any worse.
True, but the structure that Barry put into place, and you got to remember, how old were the guys then? They were 26, 27 years old, right? They were in their prime or getting right at the prime of their career. All the guys who were part of that team are still here. They're just in their 30s now, but he got them and he gave them some structure, and it's what they needed. Players get old. The coach needs to change up the message. They need to do something different. He was not capable of doing that. I always say, great regular season coach, not a great playoff coach, because you have to improvise, and that was not one of his strengths. But he brought us respectability. Don't sell that short, please.
D-Cut says that Biff head TJ is happy. Who will he blame when we're worse the next 4 seasons?
That was going to.
Here's, I was going to say, it's going to happen anyway. D-Cut, dude, the window is closing. We've talked about this before. We knew the fall from grace was going to be hard and fast. We didn't know when it was going to happen. It may have already shut. And no matter what we do, the window may already be closed. It may have a sliver of being open. It would not be open under Barry Trotz at all.
It doesn't matter who the coach is. It's the players are the issue. The fact that we don't, and maybe now, though, letting go of Barry opens up possibilities to acquire more talented offensive players through free agency, because that was not an option before. I'm sorry.
Scott L says, now moving forward, it's all on Lou. For certain,
100%.
There's no blame I'll put on the next. Maybe I'll be much more quick and apt to blame our general manager than the head coach. I'll tell you that much going forward. Tony F saying here, I like the move. Might be in a minority here, but I'm glad. His playing system was driving me out of my mind with him not playing the young guys. Yeah, absolutely.
That's every franchise he's been with, too. All the fans say the same thing at the end. All of them.
Charles D says here, now maybe we get some of these big name free agents to sign here.
That's right, Charles.
There's no more excuses.
At least now you're in the mix, where before you weren't even in the mix.
Noah W says, I want Lou to take on advisory role, hire a young general manager, not his stupid son. I agree.
I agree. No Fredo.
Fire Lou and hire D-Cut. Hey, if you got the right ideas in mind, I'm not opposed, D-Cut.
I could see D-Cut with those glasses in the GM role and say, you're fired. I could see him saying that.
You're fired. Drew L says here, well, Grump, all I know is I never got attacked. I never attacked you. I ride with the boys since day one, but let's appreciate what Barry did for this organization. He brought back relevance, and I'm grateful for that, for certain. Yep, we definitely are. 100%. No need to ignore the successes he's had. Lou is gone after next season because there ain't no way the Islanders will win a dick next year. True. That could very well be the case.
And that didn't matter. Okay, we might have squeaked into the final playoff spot and gotten beat in the first round.
Maybe went to 7 or 6. I mean, we wouldn't have been a team that's finishing 1 or 2 in the play. And I don't even think we're going to do that next year. We just weren't going to do that.
We don't have enough talent. We needed to transition. That's why I've been saying it for years. Let's start transitioning away from the old guys and bring new guys in to refresh the roster. How many years have I been saying that, DJ? If you do it gradually, you don't run into the situation you're in now.
Michael T says, I'm telling you, I think the mutiny started with that Seattle shutout at home. Players most likely led by Barzal weren't happy with Trotz. I could see that.
It was before then.
Jason C said, I waited all day to hear the wisdom of Grumpy.
Thank you, Jason.
Maybe Trotz can go to Detroit and take over the hill, take some of the over the hill gang with him.
Oh, wouldn't that be great? Anders Lee, how'd you like to come play? Oh, I'd love to go play there.
I tell you this much. Yikes. He would never. Stevie Y would never join in on Barry Trotz. Never.
He would help Detroit. He would help.
Detroit has so many young players on that team, dude.
But here's the thing. They don't have veterans, so he's forced to play the young guys. That's the difference. He's forced to play them because they don't have an older core. The young guys are the core there. He would make them better because they're shambolic in nature defensively. They just are not great defensively. He would be great with a team like Detroit to start because he'd have to play the young guys.
Brian B says, big day, everyone. Wow. Yahoo! D-Cut says, open the phones. Oh, man, we can't be here all night. We'll probably open the phones maybe this Saturday or something like that. Yeah, why not? Oh, shit. Grump.
Yes.
I've got to, on Saturday, I'll have to pick up my wife from the airport. So maybe I think it's around the time period, around 10 my time, or it's, I'm in Central Standard Time. So we can't go too late, but we might be able to open the phones here. I do want to open the phones, right? This is big news.
Absolutely.
We're planning on opening up the phones here this offseason. Just simple as that. We were planning on doing that. We were going to get the schedule kind of laid out, but I think this Saturday we'll be able to do so. Emmanuel R says here, I agreed with you, grumpy old man. Trotz was messing up. Just look at the Leo situation. Trotz wrongfully played him on the top line. Lou rightfully gets rid of him a few months later. Writing was on the wall.
Yep.
Lou R says, Coach Q in the house. Brett, let's go on. Says, this podcast is amazing. Thanks, Brett, as always. Charles D says here, Barzal liked the tweet. Was grumpy dead on? No, maybe Barzal will sign long term.
He will.
What time is it? 6 past Igor Shesterkin.
I like that. Five goals in the second period by Pittsburgh.
Angelo M says, bravo, Lou. George P says, to hell with the Kool-Aiders. Where is the accountability for Lou? There needs to be.
GMs always kind of escape that because they're a little bit separated. He just won 2 straight. He won 2 straight GMs of the year. You're not getting rid of him.
There should be accountability for Lou.
Dika's very angry today, I can tell.
But hey, I'm not as angry about it.
Here's the thing. We recognize what he did, but it was just time to move on. There's nothing wrong with that. Just because you're hired as a head coach doesn't mean you're there for life. Sorry.
Michael T says, I wasn't for or against firing Trotz, but it's done. It's over. It is what it is. And now we search for a new coach, which is not a good position to be in.
Yeah, as long as we're going to have somebody hired before the draft. Absolutely. I'm not concerned about that at all. There's a lot of really capable coaches out there.
Yep.
And you want to know what the first question is? What are you going to do to make Matt Barzal better? That's going to be question number 1.
What are you going to do to elevate this team?
Yeah.
Offensively. Offensively too. Brian P says here, Lou should definitely fire himself. I'll tell you, if he comes out with a fantastic head coach hiring and, makes it an unbelievable offseason, you'll see, I will say, hey, he's done a better job this year. If he comes out and hires the wrong guy and they have, again, miserable trades and miserable acquisitions like he has had all throughout his tenure with the Islanders, you will see us chanting to fire that son of a gun as well. But it's unfortunate, right? The owners are the ones that are going to have to remove him. Charles D said Barry should have played the kids and didn't. There's no reason for Matt Martin and Josh Bailey to keep playing towards the end of the season.
That's his MO, though. That's what he does. And it's
D-Cut saying, sad to see our sheep media kiss Lou's ass today instead of asking the tough questions. They should ask the tough questions.
They should, but of course he wouldn't answer them.
Could you not imagine? They should ask a question of, there have been, signings in the past. You mentioned it wasn't just this year. What does that mean? And were player personnel decisions was it solely your decision, or did Barry Trotz also have a say in those decisions? I think that would be a perfect question to ask him. I want to know. Simple as that. And the Penguins are taking it to the youngsters. And Shesterkin getting crushed by Pittsburgh. Ariel C says here now. Who do you think? I was about to say, we'll have to look at that. We'll have to look at it later. D-Cut saying there's a great article by the Daily Face-Off, Killing Lou.
I wonder if that's slanted in any way, shape, or form.
Michael T says here, I really felt that you could have chalked this season up to as a fluke.
Absolutely not.
No way. No freaking way. And here's the thing. It means Lou didn't think that way either.
They didn't play very well at the end of the season. They were shit in the bed at the end of the season. Totally disagree.
Here's the thing. For those of you who tuned out and didn't listen towards the tail end of the year, against the playoff teams before the All-Star break, we were 2-14-1. After the All-Star break against playoff teams, we were 9-14-2. Our total record this year was 11-28-3 against teams that were in the playoffs. Simple as that, not freaking good enough. And look at the playoff teams we had a winning record against. Boston, Rangers, we were tied 2-2 in, and the Washington Capitals 2-1-1.
Who mailed in the last 2 games of the year against us. So obviously just mailed it in.
Brent Thompson, no thank you. Lou should have been axed too, Frank K says. I'm not opposed, right? If they would have axed him and Trotz, I wouldn't have been opposed.
You couldn't get rid of both of them now. Like I said, I thought they need to hire an assistant GM so they can transition away from Lou. That has to happen.
Yep. Scott L saying here, I would let Lane Lambert be the next head coach when he filled the role for Trotz for a few games this season. They played better, especially the young kids.
Absolutely. That's true. That is 100% true.
That's true. But we need a coach that has playoff experience, a coach that has a lot of NHL head coach experience. I firmly believe that.
This is what we need from a head coach that holds every player accountable, not just certain ones.
Yep.
That's the most important thing.
Sad that you guys won't hold Lou's feet to the fire. What has he done as a general manager besides hiring Trotz? He's done a few things that are good.
Nothing.
I think the signings of Pelech and Pulak were good for what he got them at, the deals he got them at. I think that was a good job by Lou Lamoriello.
Yeah.
And I think Sorokin. There's been 3 things he's done well as a general manager. It's bad when I can point them out over a 4-year time span. He's done 3 things well.
Okay, you're talking about he signed 2 guys who are already on the team.
but got them the sign for hometown discounts, something that Islanders and we haven't had in a while.
But they weren't unrestricted free agents. And he signed Sorokin, who was, drafted by the team. He overpaid for Pajot. He overpaid for Palmieri, and then he gave him big long-term deals. He made a bad signing for Casey Zizekas, signing a long-term deal. He's not been good.
He's not infallible. He's made a lot of mistakes,
but
a lot of them.
All those players were players that Barry wanted. That's the bottom line.
Yep, he gave them millions and term to average players, says George B. Absolutely.
That's right. That's
Brandon Gaines saying here, the 200-foot hockey concept wasn't the issue for Trotz. The scheme wasn't even defense first. The main issue was whether or not he was willing to change and be on board with the youth movement.
And he would not. He steadfastly refused.
No W says here, a real problem is Lou continues to sign old guys. They should have scrapped the excess fat off of this team this season and really tried to change the team.
When did I say they should? When did I say they should have started not signing guys back? Wasn't it the first year? What year was Lee? Oh no, it was the second year. As soon as they had Lee, Nelson, and Everly, I'm like, let them all go. Don't sign them to long-term deals.
Brandon Gaines says Lou sees players like Salo, Holmstrom, and Ratu as the future of the NHL studs and doesn't want Trotz to stunt their growth like he did previously for Dobson and currently for Bellows and Wallstrom. D-Cut says, TJ, you never hold Barzal and Wallstrom responsible. You kiss his ass. He's a coach killer. I don't hold the young players as responsible as the coach. The young players are kids. When they're 19, 20 years old, they have no experience. They don't know what it's like to be a true professional yet. The coach should be able to help guide along those young guys. Matt Barzal deserves criticism for a poor year this year. He does, and we gave him criticism and still do. But here's the thing. I'm not going to blame Wallstrom. Wallstrom's a 20-year-old kid.
Yeah, I'm not blaming either one of them because Matt Barzal is a really good player, and Barry tried to beat the creativeness and the skill right out of him. That's a Barry thing. I'm sorry. I bury Barry for that all the time. He was ruining Matt Barzal, ruining him.
I agree, Michael T. It came down to Barzal and the youth or Trotz. And if that's the case, Lou made the right move. But now our coaching status is in limbo. Brian P. saying he develops defensemen. He has his whole career. That's for certain. He has developed young defensemen that he has his whole career, but he's never been good with young, skilled forwards. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think Barzal had something to do with the firing, says Josh. I agree.
You know what he said? If he's here, I'm not. That's what he said. It's me or him. I firmly believe that.
D-Cut says Pellick, Pulak, Mayfield, Brock Nelson, Dobson didn't develop. Brock did. Brock's the only forward I think that's taken a step forward. He's taken a real step forward. Our defense as a whole has done fantastic under Trotz, and our goaltending has really stepped up. Our forward group has not. I think have regressed.
What's the thing we're able to do? We're able to play defense. What's the thing we're not able to do? Play offense. That's what beats us every year. It's not that we can't play defense, so we can't score.
What is wrong with trying to find a healthy balance? I've always said this, and I'll say it again. What's wrong with trying to find being a defense-first team, but finding a healthy balance? What's wrong with that? I don't think any Islander fans opposed to that. I don't dislike – the system is successful in the playoffs. It is, right? You have to have the fine line and balance, though. Jeff S. saying, I think the handling of Bailey was an issue. Bailey was left unprotected for the expansion. And since Trotz put him on all special teams and in overtime, opposed to players like Bellows, Bellows playing his off wing, etc. Yeah, look at that. Bellows played his off wing.
Okay, the thing with Bailey being exposed is they were trying to get Seattle to take salary. That's what they wanted.
Yep, they needed to take a contract off the free
because Lou mismanaged the cap is why they had to expose Eberle and Bailey.
Yeah,
I would have exposed them anyway because they're just guys anyway. You want to get their contracts off the book. The thing that Trotz did wrong was making Bellows play his off wing. He always made the young guys play out of position. Never made a veteran play out of position, which I could never understand that. It's like, all right, this guy's had so much experience in the league and you don't think he can play his offside, but a young guy who's in his first year in the league, Dobson, has to play his offside every night. How is that helping him develop? It's not.
Danny D saying, yep, it was Barry or Barzal, and Barzal won.
Every time.
Luke L says here, why I don't even know what the hell is it. Why? What has
Why not Alan
Oh,
Narsdin
why not?
of the Devils?
D-Cut says 6 playoff series wins in 4 years, more than the team has combined in the last 35. More than the team has had in the last 35 years combined.
But we weren't winning a Stanley Cup. We just weren't winning a Stanley Cup.
Who is to say, right? We didn't make the playoffs at all this year.
And it was only 5 series. I don't count beating Florida in the play-in game a series.
I was about to say was it 3 games?
It was 1 game.
Was it really 1 game?
I think it was a 1-game play-in.
I thought it was 3.
Maybe
Let us know. Who the hell knows? It technically wasn't the playoffs. It was a play-in series, though. So we won 5. And here's the thing. Who is to say with a new coach and a little bit of a different system that maybe allows, they take a little bit of the shackles off. Who's to say we can't be more successful on the offensive side of the puck while still trying to maintain some of the defensive steadfastness?
Because the players aren't good enough. We need more new players on this team. The guys aren't talented enough. Barry, this is what I want to say before I forgot. Barry got the absolute most that he could out of the guys who were on the players on the team. Couldn't have got any more out of them the last couple of years. They just weren't good enough.
And I agree at the end, they tuned him out. I do agree with that. I think so. Hey, yeah, if he's not getting the most out of him and they tuned him out, right, we need to try something else.
Yep.
Jeff S. And here's the thing. Maybe it falls flat on its face. But if the guys had tuned him out, it's not like they come back next year and they start listening to him again. That's not how, when you tune a coach out, it's not like you need an offseason to recharge and you're back again to firing all the way to the Barry Trotz system. If they tune you out, it's it. It's done. Sorry.
You might get, okay, I'm buying back in a little bit, but then as soon as one thing goes wrong, that's it. You're off the ship again.
That's why, again, as they mentioned, you have to be augmenting and bringing new, fresh blood in every single offseason because it keeps things fresh and it keeps the players from saying, yeah, that's it. I'm tuning this out.
That's right. Tortorella and Keenan and guys of that ilk, they're great to start. Billy Martin, when he was managing as well for the Yankees and all, to come in, everybody bought in. He was a genius. Short shelf life because eventually not everybody buys in after a while. And that's the end.
Jeff S. says here, Grumpy made a 100% prediction. Both Trotz and Barzal will not survive 2 more years together. Grumpy was correct. George B. said, well, one silver lining is if we get a coach with a clue, Bailey will no longer be on an idiotic pedestal. Exactly.
That much I guarantee you. You will not see him on the power play. You won't even see him on the second line anymore.
He averaged as a freaking top 6 forward, a guy who played on the freaking power play. He had 87 shots. 87 shots. Holy shit, that's inexcusable. 87 shots.
He's a third liner.
We rolled him out there every single night. His playing time was it was never in the threat, never in jeopardy, ever. D-Cut said, I told Frank K on Friday that Barry Trotz was getting fired. That's a fact. Oh, dude, Frank K. D-Cut, why were we not getting hooked up with what was going on? D-Cut?
Yeah, man.
We'd have been running with that on Saturday.
Absolutely.
B40 said, I was spoiled early on in life. I was 8 when they won their last cup, and now I'm worried I might not see another cup in my lifetime.
Well, if you think you feel bad, I'm way older than you. So,
and then Scott L says here, Barry is gone now. Moving forward, it all falls on Lou. Yep, absolutely. D-Cut says, Wallstrom has had issues with his coaches since Pee Wee. I don't know. I Pee Wee. That's a long time. D-Cut. That's a long time. Michael M saying here, hey guys, what's up? Michael M, how are you? Michael T saying here, you also have to consider that this team was built by both Barry and Lou. That's why I feel Lambert is the obvious choice to replace Trotz.
I just think
it confirmed that D-Cut did tell him on Friday that Barry Trotz was gone. D-Cut, why are we not getting hit up? D-Cut not happy. D-Cut, why are you not hitting us up with the juicy deets, D-Cut? That's what I'm saying. Come on now. Oh, man. Angela N saying here, Barry cannot develop youngsters, at least young forwards. He was good at getting us to the level of the contenders, but now we need somebody else.
And there are some coaches like that. I mean, the one year he won the Stanley Cup, they were kind of lucky. They got every break, and they played an expansion team in the finals. He's always said it's not a developmental league, the NHL. Well, you know what? I don't know if the modern NHL is a little bit different when you have younger guys on cost-controlled contracts for a number of years, you want to maximize their value, and you're not. If you keep on letting them play in the minors or just playing 10 minutes a night and they don't develop, you play out your entry-level deal. Now you got to pay those guys. You can't. It's just a way to poorly constructed roster. Honestly, just dumb.
Like I say, TJ tagged you about 20 different things today. Thank you, Michael. I do appreciate. D-Cut saying TJ is the Lou sheep. Well, D-Cut, that's how I know you tuned out.
Oh, it's a Lou sheep.
That's how I know you didn't listen to anything we've been talking about all year this year. I think this is the right move. But it's not like I'm saying I'm absolving Lou for all the mistakes he's made in the past.
I don't think we've been complimentary of Lou all year long.
We have been extremely critical of Lou and Barry Trotz because they both share responsibility. Absolutely. He fired Trotz, and I think that had to happen. We were saying that for a while. This system, the way the team is currently constituted, will not win us a cup.
We need
now at least we have another chance. Here's the thing. We might fall flat on our face and saying, holy shit, Lou's got to go too.
Let me tell you something.
We may also be able to hit the jackpot. Who the hell knows?
Here's what everyone's going to say next year if we don't make the playoffs. See, Barry could have got us in the playoffs. See, no, would not have been the case. The forward group we can get. It just takes one tweak for the defense to be right back where they were. Just one move. Honestly, it'll be legitimately a good move, but still.
What the fuck? Angela, I don't even know where that's come from.
You're saying you're right about what you say about Lou. Is what
okay. God, I gotta get my mind out of the gutter. I was like, what in God's name is going on here? And then Jeff S. here says maybe Lou wants to acquire scores this year, and Trotz was not up for playing defense, and was not up for playing defense.
I think it came down to Barzell wants to be here, and he doesn't want to be here with Trotz.
Michael, I'm saying 100% TJ. Lou moves in silence. Isles 44 saying here, I'm guessing the exit interviews didn't go well. I have a lot of respect for Barry, but I can't say I was at all surprised by it. This team played in a disheartened fashion most of the year. Yep, absolutely.
And the Kurtz article once again mentioned that a lot of people around the league were surprised, but the players weren't. That tells you there was a problem in the room. It was a problem. He was still talking shit about Barzell early in the year. They had that blow up. He didn't say shit about Matty B the whole rest of the year. Nothing. He never criticized him once the rest of the year.
Trumpy, now where did you see that the players are not very surprised by this?
Let's see.
Here we go. Hold on. I got it. I just had to. I was trying to control F it. Again, I recommend if you have The Athletic, leave a fantastic review on Kevin Kurtz. I know I'm going to. I'm going to tell him thank you. This is the best article I think you've ever written here, and I'm very happy about it. That could have been the case. The style also could have led to frustration in the dressing room and in the postseason. At least some players on the Islanders were not surprised by Monday's apparent bombshell, according to a league source.
I'm going to bet Matt Barzal was one of those players on a condition of anonymity. It's so obvious he was unhappy with them, right? So obvious.
I wonder how many they're not shocked by that. I'm going to let you know one thing. Shit in the room was not good. That's what that means. Shit in the room was not good. Right, wrong, or indifferent, things in a room were not good. Would you disagree?
Matt Barzal was so disappointed with the play of some of the players. You could tell in his interviews, even at the end of the year.
At the end of the year, he's like, we're mailing it in. I can't believe this, all this. He was just pissed.
He was pissed. And you know who he's pissed at? The veteran group. That's who he's pissed at. Not the young guys, the veteran group, the lazy dogs who've been given a pass ever since Barry Trotz has been coached there. Those are the guys he's pissed at. And I guess what? All the young guys are pissed at that. Lamoriello saw that.
Sal P. Look at that. The Giga Chad himself, grumpy old man, with his Grumpy's Groupies t-shirt. And look at that big beard, Giga Chad himself. He says, Barry was the key in turning the culture around. For certain he was. And is a really good coach, but it was time for change. Absolutely. A team will never be successful by being the best defensive team, but being one of the worst offensively. Absolutely. And Barry wasn't good at making adjustments or developing young talent, especially forwards. Thanks, and let's see where we go from here. Absolutely.
I'll tell you what, not only does Sal wear great apparel, he's spot on with that analysis. Spot on. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that.
I like this point. Decut says Lou talks about loyalty, but is disloyal of a human out there. Do you remember, right? It was handshake agreements with Zdeno Chara, handshake agreements with Andy Green. Hey, we don't want to trade you, right? Because we had a handshake agreement on. We're going to let you finish your career here. We're going to let you finish your season out no matter what happens. But things are a little different. Isn't that funny? I do find that's why that's why he's like, oh, he's such a loyal guy. I said, bullshit. Bottom line is he should have made those moves. I said that originally. I don't care if you made a handshake move. Sorry, you're gone.
Just because you're hired as a head coach doesn't mean it's a position for life. It's just not. It's a results-oriented business.
Brett W says, totally on the money. The exit interviews told him all he needed to know.
Yep.
Michael M saying, I love this video. Phil, the human ambient strikes hot on the coil. Love you, Phil. Angela N says here, I think Barzal was threatening to leave. He could be a 90 to 100 point player if not for Trotz. I do
with that and a different system without a doubt.
Ariel C said here, Trotz being fired was a shock, and I thought a little crazy because Lou is just as much to blame as him. But if we don't have a good coach lined up, we're in trouble for years to come. I think the years to come will spell trouble, whether we have a good coach or not. I think the future is screwed for us. I think we're absolutely fucked.
What this does, though, it gives us the ability to attract offensive players, which we didn't have that before. With Barry as coach, that was just not an option.
Remember the Christmas Day scenario I said? We were able to bring in a top name offensive free agent, a guy like Goudreau or a guy like Philip Forsberg. That was never happening. Now I can delude myself all off season long that a Goudreau or a Philip Forsberg might come here if they last to unrestricted free agency and don't extend. Now I can convince myself, and when they don't do it, I can be upset all over again, as every off season is.
The only thing I want from the new coach, because I think we will get a top 4 left-handed defenseman. I believe that.
Yes.
I want a coach who holds every player accountable, not just the young guys, the Anders Lees, the Brock Nelsons, the Josh Baileys, and that's if they're all still here, the Kyle Palmieris, the Casey the Matt Martins. If you're not good enough, you don't play. If you dog it on a shift, you sit. Not just the young guys, the veterans too. Hold everyone accountable. That's how you get the most out of everyone. And how about having real, actual competition for spots? That's something we never had under Barry Trotz, ever.
D-Cut says Barzal will get 80 points and the team won't win another playoff round for 10 years.
Oh, wow.
I don't know about that, D-Cut. I don't know. Here's the thing, though. If we don't win a playoff round next year, we are doomed. We're in big trouble. I believe that the window may already be closed or close to it. So, hey, I'm not lying about that. If you're able to get big name free agents, big offensive powerhouses, and you're able to add that to a team, maybe it can help open up for a little bit of a summer breeze.
8 or 9 of our forwards are 30 or older. That's not a recipe for success. I've been saying it all year.
Lou is at fault for that.
Absolutely. But, with Barry that's what Barry wanted, though. That's what he wanted. And Lou gave him what he wanted.
We traded for Richard Panik this offseason. Didn't use him at all. Do you think maybe Lou wanted to use a guy like that? And Barry's just like, no, I'm happy with the guys we've got.
And it's funny. He did play a couple of games, and he looked okay.
I thought so too, right?
Austin Jarnack looked mighty good.
Okay, well, here's the other thing. Lou released Austin Zarnak, which I'm kind of still pissed about.
And then he got him back. Maybe Barry said, I'm not playing him.
Drew Ellis said here, Matt Barzal is screaming in the heavens, yes, 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 from his house. It's like the scene of Shawshank Redemption where the guy escaped the prison.
Yeah, Timothy Robbins, once he just climbed through 600 yards of shit in a pipe, and he comes out the other side. That's what he feels like.
Michael T says, if Barry goes to Philadelphia, we will be that will be bad news. No. Could you imagine? I'm pretty sure that could you imagine Philly having Barry Trotz?
Well, then Goudreau won't go there.
George P said, I think Lou is going away from the old slow core. No. Oh, you think Lou is going away from the slow old core? No way. So the next head coach has to deal with a roster that is basically old timers old timers day every night.
Lou has bought himself an off season of change for me to see if he's going to go with the young guys or if he's going to go with the old guys. D-Cut says, I'd rather watch old people screw than Phil talk. That's true as well.
Michael is saying, you're right, D-Cut. I like your style. Oh, good gracious. The return of Jedi Rusty Spooner says, what's up, Grumpy TJ? Wonder who we get as coach now. And Lou better be on the hot seat too. For certain, he's on the hot seat. Here's the thing. If we start off poorly at the beginning of next season, I'm all for firing Lou Lamoriello and bringing in a new general manager, because if you, depending on who the head coach is, right? If you get a good head coach, if we start off poor next season, I think Lou's gone or should be gone.
The issue with if you fire Lou in season or even at the end of the season, it makes the coach a lame duck coach as well.
Unless you
bring a new GM.
They should bring in a general manager that's on board, a young general manager. I think this rings truer even now more than ever. You should bring in another general manager and kick Lou Lamoriello up to hockey operations and let this new general manager learn under Lou for a year. But if Lou doesn't cut it, you have no more authority to make any moves or deals, and we don't trust you. I've never been impressed with Lou's ability to trade and acquire prospects and acquire players, and I've never been impressed with his ability to sell off items. Never.
How long have I been advocating for that?
We need to do it. It's a must. It's pertinent. It is an absolute must. Must.
I've been advocating for that for over a year now. 2 years probably.
Giving away draft stock for bones in the graveyard drives me crazy. Let's get it right. Let's go Islanders. Christopher C says, hey, Grumpy, you got your wish. You want a Barry gone. Where's the champagne for you to pop?
I don't need it. Everyone knows. They know. Like I said, we are the curve here.
Also, do you think that we're headed to a rebuild? No. I think that they're going to try to patch this up and they're going to make drastic changes. I think that I'll be very interested to see the personnel change. Maybe we go completely different. Maybe we try to trade away a few vets this offseason and try to really restructure how the makeup of the team is.
That's what I think we're going to trade away. I think we're going to try to trade away some veterans.
Bailey, I think, is definitely as good as gone.
Yeah. I mean, I'd move whoever I can for whatever I can.
Could you see Jean-Gabriel Pageau? I mean, I don't think so.
He's got a no-trade clause as well, doesn't he?
Does he? I wasn't sure. My mistake. I wasn't sure.
We hand those out like they're candy.
Oh, that's another Lou special. But man, oh man, I'll tell you. I'm setting up a GoFundMe for Lou Must Go billboard. There you go. There you go. TJ, I believe those tweets I sent you are true, says Frank K. Let me check the tweets too. I apologize. Oh yeah. I think they certainly are. I think they are. Get this born F off the show talking about Phil's facts. Lou R says here, Lou will be fired tomorrow morning. They let him get rid of Barry first.
If they were going to fire Lou, you would have had the owner come out and said that we were cleaning house.
Frank K says the Taves-Letty battle played a little part too.
Absolutely. That was a colossal blunder.
I like, you know how like it sometimes happens when they somebody builds resent for somebody. I wonder if that's some resent that built in Lou for Barry,
where he's like, shit, look at how good this kid is playing.
I can't believe I let him convince me that this is the way we should go.
I knew the kid was good. Barry told me he was never going to be a part of this team going forward. Wasn't committed enough defensively, whatever line of bullshit he threw out there. And you know how much we value Nicoletti. I just remember him gushing about Nicoletti in the offseason. I'm like, you got to be freaking kidding me.
The return of Jedi Rusty Spooner says, Echo Chamber. That's obviously your fault at TJ. Get him, Grump. Oh, shit. Yeah, Frank saying Lou is lost. Frank K saying here, 2 huge egos. That was bound to end badly.
I disagree. I don't think it had anything to do with that.
Thinking back, it started getting weird in camp. D-Cut saying these guys like Phil make up stories and convince himself it's reality. I don't know. Everybody called us crazy thinking that Barry and Barzal and Barry didn't get along well. Called us crazy for for months. We've been talking about this at the beginning of the year.
The beginning of the year, it was so obvious to me. So obvious.
Yep. Michael M saying it was a good story. Yeah, Golashev is a smurf. He's small, but yeah.
But you know, when your team can't score and you got 5 guys out with COVID, why not give him a shot?
I was about to say, because he didn't have NHL experience. That had to be the stupidest freaking answer I've ever heard in my entire life. It's because he really didn't have a valid reason to do it besides I didn't want to.
Here's the thing. Either Trotz or Lamoriello ever got grilled on the ridiculous shit that they said by the media ever.
Yep.
Barry thinks that no one was listening. I was listening, and I called him out on this podcast every time that he backtracked or said something ridiculous. The same thing with Lou. D-Cut, I know you weren't listening. When they had Lou on the telecast through 2 periods with Shannon, I absolutely shredded him.
It's like he had to come out for a tour. He had to come out for a tour of, don't burn the pitchforks. Don't go ahead and burn everything down because we did nothing. Everything is good. We still believe in everything is good here. Don't worry. We'll come out for a 2-period special extravaganza. We spent an entire podcast grilling the shit out of Lou. I don't know. Yeah, unfair. Unfair to say we don't grill Lou. That's all I'm going to say. You haven't been listening. We grill the hell out of him.
Yeah.
I make those bigger than Golaship. Man, I tell you, D-Cut is fiery.
I crap bigger than you. You know who said that? It was an Academy Award winner for Best Supporting Actor said that in a movie.
Clint Eastwood.
No. Clint Eastwood never won. He was in the movie Shane. He played Wilson in Shane, and he won for a comedy.
Wilson. Never mind. I was thinking of the movie Wilson or Castaway with Tom Hanks.
No.
You gotta give me a hint.
Jack Palance was his name. He won for City Slickers.
I've never watched that movie.
You never saw City Slickers?
Uh-uh.
It's a comedy. You got to watch it. Jeez, again, my God.
I'm dying over here. I think the sickness and the tiredness is just. There's been so much going on today. I'm just like,
take some NyQuil and go to bed.
I'm about to say, I can promise you one thing: we're not getting through all the comments. God Almighty, D-Cut, I'm telling you, you listen to we bash the shit out of Lou all the time, but I think this is a good move by him. I think this is not a bad one. And here's the thing: that was total bullshit. Golashef 100% was telling the truth. I think so too. It's one of those things. But hey, I know we didn't get through all the comments. There's a lot of comments. I apologize. I will look over these. We'll look over the comments. Sorry, guys. Also, TG, you want to talk about loyalty? You can throw that shit out the window with Barry being fired with a year left. Bailey is as good as gone.
Here's the thing. It's not like Barry's not getting paid for next year. He's getting that money. Coach's contract's guaranteed.
I don't care if he was harsh, says Shea to Wallstrom. If he was the same way,
that's right. If you treat everyone the same, it's not an issue. When you play favorites, that's a problem. Always been a problem. If you treat everybody like shit, they can use you as a guy that they're fighting against. But if you treat one guy like crap, another guy like his shit don't stink, that's a problem because players look at that and like, screw you. I'm not putting out for you.
Master Ligayota says, very surprised at the firing. Never thought that Lou would do this, but I'm very interested to see who we get to replace him. Maybe Paul Maurice or Joe Quenneville, or maybe Alain Vigneault. I think Alain Vigneault, now the more I'm thinking about it, I know his stop in Philly was not successful. You look at those teams that Alain Vigneault coached in New York for the Rangers and those teams he coached for Vancouver. Again, we don't have anywhere near the talent of Vancouver. I think that, our goaltender is arguably similar to what Roberto Luongo was in his peak. I'd argue our defense maybe is a little better than what that Alexander Edler, type of defense was in Vancouver as well. But our forward group isn't close to what Vancouver's was.
I just tell you who the Athletic is putting out there as, possible head coach material. Mike Babcock, 59.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Lane Lambert, 57. Peter DeBoer, 53. Okay. Rick Tocchet, 58. Joel Quenneville, 63. Claude Julien, 62. Paul Maurice, 55. And John Tortorella, 63.
Why is Vigneault not on the list? Because it was so poor. It was so poor in Philly this last year.
Maybe, but I think he's in the mix too.
I think he is. Good.
It's not going to be a young guy. I think if they were going to elevate Lane Lambert, and maybe they will, but you're keeping all the coaches. Why would Lambert stay if you hire another head coach? And if a new head coach comes in, is he going to want to keep all the guys who are on the staff now? I don't know.
Eddie says here, you guys are the best Islanders podcast in the business. We are the Curve. Thank you. We always do appreciate that. What I'm going to try to do is, there's no method to the madness. I'm going to just try to see people who I haven't read a lot of their comments for and just try to pop them up. Sorry, guys. There's a lot of comments here. Michael P says, either way, I'm afraid of this coaching instability. The bad old days have returned.
Overreaction. It's overreaction.
I agree
Michael,
with it.
it's an overreaction.
Jimmy G says here, Wallstrom needs to improve his skating. I couldn't agree more. I
Agreed.
couldn't agree more. He's got to take a big step forward. Simple as that.
Well, now the shackles are going to be coming off of him a little bit. But here's the thing. They should have a frank, realistic conversation with him. Nothing wrong with that. These are the things you need to work on. We need you to get with this skating coach. That's what a good organization does.
Here's the thing, too. Don't be shocked at all if these young guys feel now they have an opportunity. The Kiefer Bellows, the Oliver Wallstroms, the Robin Salos. Now they feel like they're going to have a legitimate chance. And right, wrong, or indifferent, they're going to feel like now I have a new head coach. Everybody's starting at the same equal playing field. There is no favoritism. It's everybody has a chance at a shot. In the past, right, it's been our lineups are set in stone in actual marble since day one. And there's no granite since day one. Granite actually erodes after time. So set in marble since day one.
Okay.
And now, no, I'm not sure they could. Hopefully that's not what I've always said. Competition breeds the best production out there. There needs to be consistent competition.
This is what the new head coach should come in and say. No one's spot is assured. Best players are going to play. I don't care. Anders Lee, I don't care. You're the captain. You make $7 million per. Guess what? If you're not playing well enough, your ass is going to sit. Just that plain and simple.
Not that she said, I prefer the whip to the carrot myself. Parcells let LT get away with being high every practice.
Absolutely. Because you know what? He brought it every Sunday. He did. He treated him special. But that's what a good, but he performed. It's not like he was shitty and he didn't get on him. He knew how to get the best out of LT was to talk shit about somebody else. And Taylor knew what he was doing. He admitted, I knew what he was doing. He wasn't fooling me, but he didn't like being yelled at. Well, guess what? You want to get the best out of your player? Then you yell at, Johnny next door for something LT did. You get the point across. The other guy had to be tough enough to take it. And he knew that he was really yelling at LT. Everyone knew. But that's what a good coach does.
Judge A said, I had someone telling me today that it's all Lou's fault because he was the one who brought in the roster. LOL. It's like you guys said, a good general manager listens to what the coach wants. And here's the thing, general manager gets the end say, but the general manager's job is to make sure they try to set up the head coach for success. If the head coach says, I really don't want Johnny X or John Smith, I'm not going to go out there and hire John Smith or sign John Smith.
The GM does not fill out the lineup card every night.
Yep. No, he does not. Absolutely not. Ariel C also saying free agents might have not come here with Trotz, but if we get a guy like College Quinn, they won't be coming here. That's why I said the head coaching hire is so unbelievably important.
We're not getting College Quinn. It's going to be
a grumpy old man. I don't know what that means, but fair enough. I'm just trying to get to James F. What's up, James F? How are you? The Rangers getting blown out for certain. They are for certain. Oh God, yes, I did see that D-cut. I did see that.
Enough said. You're right there.
Johnny Gaudreau. Tavares left. We got better. Why? Because we got a great coach for certain. We brought stability to a team that had no stability. And
that is exactly right.
They had. I mean, Capuano was a bad coach.
Doug Waite was just offense.
He was not. He's inept. He's inept when it came to offering a full on plan for what should be established for a team.
There's a reason why he's never gotten another sniff for a job.
Is he even an assistant coach anywhere? Or he's I think he was coaching. I gotta look at that up. I thought he was coaching like a development team, but let me pull that up here. Or maybe that's Jack Capuano. God almighty.
Jack Capuano was assistant coach for Florida, I believe. Or Ottawa, one of the two.
Let me see what Doug Waite's doing coaching now.
I mean, Doug Waite is really good power play and working with offensive skill players. That's his niche. He would have been great for Matt Barzal. Great. He was. Actually, the year Matt Barzal was the best year he ever had points-wise. He wasn't a full two-way center. And Barry certainly helped him in that regard.
I'm trying to think about that. He led the team in scoring that year. The kid who won the Calder.
Yeah.
I was about to say, does anybody know what Doug Waite's doing now? Leave it in the comments.
Yeah,
Doug Waite doing now? I was about to say because he's been right. Think about it. He hasn't been with a job for over 4 years. At least his head coaching job.
True.
Oh man, I can't find it. I'll look. But I don't think he's doing anything. James F saying here. So what do you guys want? I want Quinville. Some people are vehemently against Quinville. Some people are totally for Quinville. Again, I think he's going to be polarizing higher if they were to look at that, no matter what.
He's the best coach out there. Period, bar none. And you're right. No one will be talking about Trotz anymore if we get Quinville. Quinville makes us a better team.
Well, everybody will be talking about what a questionable hire. Is it right? Did we?
Who cares? Do you think they care? Do you think Lou Lamoriello really cares? I don't.
Think about how quick Carolina forgot about Tony D'Angelo's antics and issues off the ice. All it took was him winning a few games and putting up massive points, and nobody asked questions about that. Same thing when Ben Roethlisberger raped that girl or had the rape out. It's quick. How quickly do you think it's going to be before when Deshaun Watson throws for a few touchdowns and wins a few games before they stop talking about that?
That's why I said it doesn't matter what he did or didn't do in the past. He will get rehired, and maybe somebody will question his start, and that's why, okay, let's say somebody told them what happened supposedly, even though even the player himself said he never went to Quinville, but he had to know. Well, you think they're going to derail a Stanley Cup run for something like that when they're in the playoffs? I just don't think any franchise would do that. Certainly not 10, 11 years ago. And do you think that Chicago fans are, I'm so in uproar, or do you think they're glad they won that cup? I'm going to tell you which one it is.
Cut said, I canceled my season tickets. I hope they're 5K and not a UBS arena.
How many were there this year, though?
Well, everybody had the ambiance of the first year in the arena. Here's the thing, D-Cut. I bet you, depending on who we hire and what we do in the offseason, season tickets will be higher than the 34% that we're off right now. But hey, maybe there's no way Quinville gets hired. Maybe not. Who knows? Maybe it's not this year. Maybe it's next year. Who the heck knows?
He absolutely will be hired again.
I don't know.
Jared, I'm going to try to remember your name.
He was just exiled from the league for the Blackhawks scandal. He's done for good.
You're so wrong. I cannot tell you how wrong you are.
Guarantee you a part of Lou's firing was Lou talking to certain agents 100%. That's what I said. Don't be shocked at all.
Yep.
Right? Hey, we don't know anything for sure, but teams in the past, it's crazy how they've got these deals worked out and they're able to sign them 10 minutes, 5 minutes into free agency. Oh, they've agreed to terms. They're not supposed to be able to talk to these people before the tampering time period, but hey, they've agreed to terms on this many years. And that, it's just not, it doesn't happen in 5 minutes of free agency, ladies and gents. It's like the NFL. They've got all these deals worked out days before free agency starts. Well, you're not supposed to be able to contact.
They have the tampering period, and they're leaking deals 2 minutes into the tampering period. Right. They weren't talking before that.
Okay. Hey, gotcha. What do you want? Terrific. We'll offer you that. Sounds great. Come over here to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Come over here to the Philadelphia Eagles. That's not how that works because they all cheat. Every single one of those bastards cheat.
They're always talking on parameters of a deal. What's your interest here? You think they don't make decisions on who they want to go after until the clock strikes 12 on such and such day? I mean, come on. So ridiculous.
Steve V says, I believe in the move. My brother does not. I think it's a risky move, but totally necessary.
It's not really risky.
Jared said it would be a PR disaster.
Until they win a few games. Until they win a few games. And here's the thing. If enough time goes by, no one will even mention it.
And here's the thing. He may come out and sound contrite and he may win the hearts of people. He may not. I have no idea. I didn't follow Quinville enough closely enough in Chicago. I hated their success in Chicago. Unbelievably successful team over that time frame.
I hate his mustache.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Looks like
he does have that freaking mustache. Not almighty. He's got that freaking big ass mustache, too.
Like
honestly, dude, it's a thick. I couldn't grow a mustache that thick if I wanted to, but man,
it's a walrus. Here's the thing, Jared. Deshaun Watson, right? 23 sexual assault allegations. 23.
Gee, here's the thing. I think they're probably, when there's that much smoke, there might be fire. But we said we will wait.
And what did he do?
Pass judgment.
What did he do? Low. Just kept his mouth shut. Didn't say anything. Anybody talking about that? Are they talking about that in Cleveland? No, they're not. They're just like, yeah, he makes us a contender.
They are joking around saying Deshaun Watson does look good in orange, and they do like a fake with like the jail. The memes are great. The memes that are great. But 23 counts of sexual assault on ladies that came forward this last year. Not like this was something that happened 12 years ago that he may or may not have known about. 23 cases launched against him. And the team was still willing to say, we're willing to trade for you and give you a fully secured every single penny. We're willing to give you the Deshaun Watson. Every single penny of that money is secured. But that's how they get back. They're quiet. They stay. They lay low, and people forget as other people get in the spotlight. And it'll pop up when they get hired again or they get traded for, but it will slowly die down again. That's what they expect. That's what usually happens in these situations. Right, wrong, or indifferent.
In this 24-hour news cycle, that's just the way it is. Now, you think that Cleveland was going to sign him without the tacit cooperation of the NFL to all that guaranteed money? No, he might get a little suspension going into this year because they make it up as they go along.
It's funny. You and I joked around off air. I said, would it not be totally Cleveland Browns to have him get a lifelong suspension for playing in the NFL? As they traded all this capital away for Deshaun Watson and gave him a fully guaranteed contract. I said, that would be completely Cleveland Browns. And I almost kind of wish it would happen just for the meme factor.
That's not the case, though. They've gotten the NFL has talked to them. Yeah, he might get a suspension because they haven't had a chance to fully digest it for a year and a half, right? I know, more bullshit. This is the type of stuff you hear on the TJ and the Grumpy Old Man show, by the way. But all of a sudden, you don't think that the NFL's told them, yeah, he's going to be able to play again. He might get a little suspension, but you're good to sign him.
You got an old Leokinen should be coach. Going from Doug Waite to Capuano Trotz, from Doug Waite / Capuano to Trotz, they play better. What a surprise! Yeah, I mean they were miserable those times.
They were some bad coaches.
Sorry, we're trying to get to. I'm trying to. State of Survival. I'm sorry. I'm just looking for different posters. I'm sorry. We won't be able to get to everybody. Sorry, guys. We really do appreciate it. Trust me, Grump and I will be looking at the comments here over the next few days. There won't be anything.
Yeah, I heard an ex-NHL said this too, that he won't be coaching the Islanders and he won't be coaching again. I disagree with that. I think someone's going to give him a shot unless he doesn't want to coach anymore. I think he does want to coach. But
I heard that maybe he'd be moving into general management role. I did read something about that today.
God. As long as he's not a GM here.
Oh,
holy shit. That'd be worse than him coaching.
Oh, wow. Apparently the Panthers were about to go down 3-1 against the Capitals, but I guess they came back and they scored late in the game.
Panthers won 3-2 in overtime.
I think Trotz was affecting the culture negatively. It's the main reason why he was released as the State of Survival.
He didn't get he didn't get along and play. He didn't work and play well with the younger players. That was the issue.
Beth B says Barzal needs to mature. Yeah, he needed his time.
To mature.
Yeah, he needed to mature. He needed this time with Trotz, even if he hated it. I don't disagree with that.
He became a better all-around player under Barry Trotz. That said, you cannot stifle his offensive creativity and what makes him special. Can't do it.
I will say one thing. There are always people in two different camps. D-Cut, obviously very upset. SP says, all I got to say is good riddance. Oh, my goodness gracious. Brett Let's Go On says, the Capitals are doing pretty good without Trotz. I don't know. Todd Reardon was a big step down. That was a bad decision by them.
And the worst thing was
Peter Laviolette, if they lose this series, should be fired from Washington.
Them playing the number 1 seed in the playoffs, President's Trophy. If they don't win, he should be fired. Okay.
They didn't win the President's Trophy. The Colorado Avalanche did.
No, they didn't. Florida won President's Trophy.
Did they? Oh, did they really?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. I fucked up then. What can I say? All the assistant coaches are under contract for this year. Does the new coach just deal with them for a season, or does he tell Lou to bring in my own guys?
I think a coach is going to come in and say he wants his own guys. That's why I think this is going to happen pretty fast. It's not going to be 2 months from now. I'm going to tell you that. It's going to happen fairly fast. Don't let me give you an exact timeline, but you want guys to have an opportunity to get other open jobs. The one thing I don't want him doing is letting go of Greco and Korn. Everybody else could be on your way, not Greco and Korn.
Even if Pierre Greco and Korn, you guys say you're your own entity. You exist. You're like a territory. You do whatever the hell you want in this bubble with the goalies. We're not going to touch it.
And you
we want to extend you. We want to extend you right now. We want to extend you for the next 10 years. Are you willing to take a 10-year extension and we'll give you a raise on top of that too to stay here? Please don't leave.
Pay them well above what a coach of that statue should make. stature should make just to keep them here. They're that good.
Let's say they're making $250,000 a year. I'd say up that to $450,000. Give them almost a double what their salary is right now.
Yes.
Do it. Don't be cheap with them. They are invaluable to this team. Invaluable to the growth of Sorokin. Invaluable to the performance of Varlamov. They're invaluable pieces on this team. Now, Tony Cheese says, do you think the cost of giving up Taves and draft picks is too much to recover from in a year? I mean, we've done up a lot of draft picks, and it's one of those things to where, right, we don't have the pipeline of the young players as we've had in the past. But yeah, Ray Santana, I don't know. Taves is a big loss. It's one of those things we always look back on and kick ourselves for. Always do and always will. Ray Santana says, whoa, wait, they fired the coach? Maybe they'll find some players. Players will play for now.
Very true.
D-Cut saying Barzal doesn't make players better. Lee excelled when he was taken off the Barzal line. I've never thought Lee was a good fit for Matt Barzal.
Yeah, he wasn't a fit.
Yep, simple as that. SP said I've been arguing with the Barry bros. Oh my God, he turned off the Bernie bros all day. Their hero is gone, and I'm happy. Hopefully, Lou is gone also soon. I would have no problem with Lou being gone.
I'd love to see this.
If he does a poor job with the head coach hiring, I'm ready to get rid of him immediately.
I'm not really.
I think he'll do well on that. I think that's a spot. Like I look where Lou excels, hiring head coaches. I think he'll do well on that.
The management needs to say, "Hey, let's get an assistant in here for you. Somebody who's a cap genius, whatever. Somebody you can give tutelage to." They need to let them know Fredo is not an option going forward. Number one, no Fredo. Get somebody who can grow into that role. We want you because he's not going to be GM forever. He just isn't. He's 80.
Brian P said Florida tied the game with a pulled goalie. Holy shit. Wow. God, I wish honestly, I'm happy we're doing a show, but I kind of wish I had recorded that so I can watch it. Well, Grump, get your resume in quick, says Woodha Films.
That's it. There you go.
Oh my God.
I should be the GM, not the coach.
They tied it with 2 minutes to go. Oh man, I tell you. Get rid of Nelson. His stock is high. Sell. As Grumpy says.
If you are blowing up the team, Nelson's a guy I'd get rid of. I don't think they're blowing up the team.
They're not blowing up the team. Oh, geez. Now we're definitely getting Forsberg or Goudreau laughing with a cry. Hey, you know what? I'll tell you. Remember I put our chances of getting Philip Forsberg at about like 15%, 5 or 15. I think that has gone up a little bit.
You said higher than that.
No, I didn't. I said I thought it was higher chance for him staying in Nashville or going to Detroit. I thought he had a higher chance of going to Detroit than anywhere else.
Okay.
Nelson is a must keep. He is great. Absolutely. Here, D-Cut, I'll tell you this much. We've talked about this all year long. John Tavares made the players around him better than Matt Barzal did.
Yep.
And I see that in the comments. I've read a few of those. We have said that since the start. I think think about the trash that John Tavares has put with. Matt Barzal needs a very particular type of player to fit his style.
Very
simple as that. John Tavares, I think, was more malleable. He can make anybody he played with better.
John Tavares is not a better individual talent than Matt Barzal, but he makes other players around him better, without a doubt. And we have talked about that all year. See, D-Cut, you're talking a little bit out of school because you ain't been listening.
I was about to say, D-Cut, these are things, we've been talking about this all the time.
All year.
Absolutely. I'm sorry, I'm getting to how many playoff series is one? Okay, I got a lot of. There was a lot of fighting amongst the comment section, Grumpy. So we're just trying to get to. Ledecky doesn't make the ticket price. It's a UBS. When a fan told him how much season tickets were raised, he was shocked and said it shouldn't be that much. Or he could just be putting on a little bit of an act like, oh, it shouldn't be that much. I don't know. I think he's got some sort of play in it. But who knows? Oh God Almighty, reading that. Give me a sec here. I'm sorry. Joe will be great or would be great. Matthews again. He's a very controversial hire, is what we see. Joe Quenneville's a bad idea, says Michael M. Lane Lambert will be the next Islanders coach. Book it.
Maybe
Joe Quenneville. Let his own player give the trainer a BJ. You fools.
Yeah, he didn't. It's not like he said, "Hey, get in there and blow the video guy." It's not what he said.
I was about to say it.
And his thing,
understanding too, this wasn't as bad as what happened with Rick or Joe Paterno knew about you. I'm not even sure, and I got to read back up on everything because I honestly didn't even consider him as a legitimate. We had always talked, hey, get rid of Trotz if you could get rid of him, but it actually happened.
Beach never said. Matter of fact, he said he did not go to Quinville. He said there's no way he couldn't have known about it. He didn't say he's talked to Quinville about it though. So it is what it is.
G-Cut says, Coach Q is a piece of shit. F him. I hope he goes to prison and Buddha has his way with him.
Bubba.
Oh, Bubba. Bubba. That just sounds like a big guy. Bubba.
Buddha was a big guy too.
I was about to say, Tockett, I like. People are saying Tockett. No to Tockett. I like Tockett. Oh, man. I tell you one thing. It will be, whoever we hire, I think will be a shock. That much I will tell you. I will be a shock. I think we'll be a shock here. Mark K is saying he apparently gave the guy a recommendation after they got rid of him. Okay, so he gave that. Okay, so that's the reason why they apparently gave him a letter of recommendation after they got rid of him and said you're fired.
But if he didn't know why he was getting fired, why wouldn't you give him a letter of recommendation?
I have no idea. I have no earthly idea. I got to read back up on it.
You know what? If you want to get a guy out of an organization and keep him shut, you do anything to get rid of him.
Okay, so that's the issue they had. They apparently gave him.
I don't know what the issue is. Honestly, I have no idea.
I got to read back up on it.
He got scapegoated.
I don't even think he's going to be the guy for us. I really don't. We will have no earthly idea. Here's the thing I will say. If the guy's out there right now and he's not signed with the team, make the hire quick. I will tell you that much. I'm a big favor of making the hire quick.
Yeah.
I'm not going near Coach Q. Absolutely not, says Brandon Gaines. Again, some people are totally for him. Some people are totally against him.
He will be hired by somebody.
I think he will be hired. Michael T said, if Evander Kane can be playing hockey right now, Joe Quinville could be a coach in the near future. Evander Kane was playing well in the playoffs. Think about how many issues. That's right. Evander Kane. Let's not talk to Deshaun Watson. Let's not even leave the sport of hockey. Gambling on game allegations, all these allegations that have stacked up against him, the bankruptcy, the team, the players hating him, still finds a way in the league. Still, after he gets cleared by the NHL, what is it, that week he signs with the Edmonton Oilers? That freaking week. I tell you that much. It tells you all you need to know about the integrity of these teams. They want to win at all costs. Right. It's simple as that. They want to win at all costs. Whether it puts morality at the front or not, they want to win at all costs.
Well, didn't he also assault his wife?
Yeah. That was the allegation. Okay. I will say allegations. So I have no earthly idea.
I'm just saying,
those are the allegations.
That's all that stuff that's out there. I'm just saying, people, here's the thing. I'm not one of the holier than thou guys, just not. And I always believe somebody deserves a second chance. So
if he 100% knew, which is possible, then yes, he should rot. I heard about the BJ story. If so, it's very sick, and I want nothing to do with him. We have no idea if he knew or didn't.
No idea.
And here's the thing. If he did know, again, he's a piece of shit. If he didn't, I don't know. Maybe he did. Maybe he knew us. But the players said
if somebody threatened you with a little miniature baseball bat, you're going to blow him? I just have to ask that question. Are you?
Well, here's the other question too.
I'm not.
Here's the other question too. Like the players knew about it. Like I would.
Yeah, the players know. I mean,
Oh, that's right. Now it's all starting to come back a little bit. Man, that is a sticky situation. That's a very.
They were joking about it. The players were joking about it. So should all the players
be to joke about? That's kind of.
You know what? Again, he was what? How old? He's up. He
was like 18, 19. That is so.
21. He was 21. He was 21 years old. And the whole thing is, if somebody threatens you with a New York Yankee souvenir baseball bat, are you going to blow them? Or are you going to kick the shit out of them?
Why New York Yankees? Why New York Yankees? Is it different if it's New York Yankees?
Bat day. It's bat day. Woo!
Bat day. Okay. Obviously, we're not trying to make light of the situation. No, we're not trying. What happened to him was freaking sick and violent. And that guy.
The players knew it too, and they joked about it. So, and the people saying that, well, maybe Patrick Kane and Jonathan Taves, they shouldn't be allowed to play because they knew. Have you ever been in the locker room before? Because if you haven't, you don't know. You just don't know what it's like, particularly back then. Different time.
I will tell you this too. Now that I remember back on that story, Jesus Christ. Oh, because that guy went and abused more kids. He went to a high school and then abused kids, if I recall correctly. That's what also happened. Yes, I think that's what also
I don't know if he
happened.
actually got to abuse them.
Yes, he did, and he's
Okay.
now in the clink. He's in prison, and that's
Well,
one of
that's
those
fine.
things where
You know what? He
I
deserves
think
what he got.
here's the thing. I think what happened too was, if I remember for certain, it was the players' union rep and the general manager were in the meeting, or somebody was in that meeting. Those people should all be the people we know verifiably knew about. And God
That's who
Almighty,
he told. He told his player rep. That's who he told was a player rep.
dude, oof! I get chills thinking about that because it's such. Oh,
I
no.
just don't think that. I mean, Stan Bowman lost his
Maybe knew.
job.
Yeah, maybe Quinville knew. Maybe he didn't.
But the guy said he did not tell Quinville, but he had to know. Well, you know what? You didn't tell him. So how do you know that he knew? I don't know. I mean, they suspended him. I mean, he wasn't blackballed. They just suspended him is what they did. That's what they did.
D-Cut saying, thank you for letting me vent. You gents are good sports. Hey, man, that's what I said. I don't care if people are calling us dumb, stupid. I just say what we think. And again, we may be wrong. We may be right. But hey, you know what? I don't know who we hire as the next head coach. I'm not opposed to Alain Vigneault. I'm not opposed to Claude Julien. There's a lot of coaches I'm opposed to. Oh, Andrew L said Joe Quinville was in the meeting, TJ. Okay. So here you go. If Joe Quinville's in the meeting, that's different.
So he's in charge of the hiring and firing of personnel with the Chicago Blackhawks.
He did, right? Okay. If he was in the meeting and he wrote the letter of recommendation, okay, here's the other thing.
I didn't think he was in the meeting. I thought it was the player. I didn't think he was in the meeting.
If he's in the meeting and he writes a letter of recommendation, that rubs me the wrong way. I think that's a mistake. That's a mistake on his part. And I think he could look back and hopefully he could say, I fucked up on that, because that is
high schools hire video guys.
He took a different role with the high school. It wasn't like he was the video guy at the high school. He did like player development.
I don't even want to talk about this again because it's.
It makes me feel so bad. Do you remember when we talked about it? It makes me feel so bad. You know what? Screw it. I can't. It makes me feel awful when I talk about this again. Yeah, that's right. Ugh.
But bottom line is
the topic. Ugh.
You know, if you didn't commit the crime, I just have more of a. I just look at it differently.
It's not like you said. I can't. Honestly, here's the thing. I don't want to talk about this again. And this is because now I remember all the bad shit that happened. It was a cabal of shit.
But who even talks? Again? That was big news the beginning of the year, right? Who even talks about it anymore? Nobody.
I'm getting a fucking headache thinking about it. I cannot talk about this again. I cannot think about this again. Let's just, anytime they say, I think going forward on the show, if we just say, hey, if we're talking about Joe Quinville, right? Off the ice issues aside, good coach. That's all I want to say about him, because thinking and going back through this, it's not what I like doing. It's not what our podcast is. It's not something I enjoy doing. And it makes me sick. I was hungry originally. I'm feeling sick to my stomach, and I've got a massive headache just thinking about this because it was so screwy on every which level. And it's like when people try to talk and defend Joe Paterno, I'm just like, holy shit. I don't want to be talking about it. It's not something I enjoy talking about. You know, people being sexually assaulted. It's not what our podcast is. This is not the sexual assault podcast where we talk about who is right in the right shoes or the wrong shoes. I really like to keep this as a lighthearted podcast where we get to enjoy ourselves and talk about fun things. I will not be talking about that. If we talk about Quinville as a replacement option, we'll just say he's a good coach, maybe has off the ice issues. That's all we'll say. I don't want to talk about him. Oh, Jesus Christ. What a damper on the end of this podcast. What a damper.
Well, it doesn't matter because he's probably not getting hired by us anyway, but somebody will hire him. You watch, somebody will hire him. It'll happen. That's all I'm saying. Somebody
is
will
an assistant in Ottawa.
There it is, Ottawa.
What a film saying. Great job tonight, guys. Get well, TJ. Thank you on that one. Hey, I need to work too, says John Smith. Oh shit, I said John. I always say John Smith, but yeah, there's John Smith. I like Trotz, says Mark A. Not replacing Letty killed this team.
Well, if they would have kept Taves, they didn't have to worry about replacing Letty.
Stephen V, we see your comments. We see you. Stephen V, we read the comment there earlier. Oh God Almighty. John H said salary cap did Taves in.
Wrong. 100% wrong.
Tom White says new coach will have a tough job, possibly the same roster going forward. Can't see how we're going to cut the offense loose and also keep the puck out of our own net. Still going to have defensive responsibility. Absolutely
true.
Matthew S said, "Hey guys, well that was a bombshell. Just got home from kickball. That was a bombshell.
Big
Absolutely.
ball.
David Sean McDonald says, "What about our goalie coach?" Yeah, we got to keep Pierre Greco.
Still signed.
Absolutely. Let's win the draft lottery tomorrow night. Hey, wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah,
I'd be
probably.
happy with
I'm
that.
not getting my hopes up for that.
Mario says here, a divided locker room is what Trotz's fascination with older players created. Didn't Barzy have an argument with Lee on the bench in a game this year? I'm sure he did. I can't remember. John Mac Isaac says here, Brock should score 50 next year. Now that he'll be more offensive minded. I don't know about that.
No, I doubt it. I expect less production from him next year.
Do you guys think that Barzal will be hoisting a big keg party at his house to celebrate?
Absolutely.
Oh, good gracious.
He probably said, did he send out a tweet? Thanks, Coach Trotz, for all you've helped me with. Probably
Maybe
not.
he made a tweet like feeling full of life tonight or something like that.
The chains have been taken off.
Frank K saying F Lou.
Oh my God.
Lou he's had issues. Dan L with the baby grumpy says silver lining. We have new owners that are willing to eat $4 million this year of Trotz to not coach our team. What a positive reflection on ownership and their willingness to win. Absolutely. That is 100% true. The money does not matter for these individuals. They want the team to be successful at all costs. I love that.
Without a doubt.
We need to have a grumpy face with the caption, "I am the curve." Holy shit. You know what I'm looking at, Grumpy? We lost a shit ton of comments on here. I apologize, guys. I think we lost a shit ton of comments. Shooter Puck Hockey says here, do you guys still feel we'll be bottom feeders next year? I'll be happy to see the kids get a real shot. Ratu will hopefully get to play now.
I don't think Ratu's ready, no matter who the coach is. I don't think that we'll be bottom feeders either, but we do need to make substantial changes. But at least it gives me hope that we could obtain some high-level offensive players from the forward group. That's the one takeaway I take from this, and the fact that the young guys will get a shot to play.
Is Nylander and Barzal possible now? I have no earthly idea. Oh man, there's so many things. There's so many steps before something like that were to happen. I can't even get my mind on that. I'm focused on who's the next head coach going to be, and the items that lead up over the next few days. Oh man. But hey guys, hopefully we were able to get events, excitement, celebration, a little bit of everything all headed in the same direction. Again, for those of you who knew, oh my God, no, come on, D-Cut. D-Cut was not very happy. He doesn't want Lou. Maybe you want Lou to wake up in the afternoon and he gets a full day of sleep, is what I think D-Cut's saying here. He wants Lou Lamoriello to get a full day of sleep, so he wakes up late in the afternoon, gets a full 12 plus hours, so he's ready to put his mind, 100% of his mind forward to getting the best head coach. D-Cut, that's the positivity I love from you this evening, man. I love it, D-Cut.
I think that he's going to be burning the midnight oil, which is why he's going to get up late tomorrow.
Yes.
Hiring a new coach.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. He's going to burn it tonight. He's going to be up working tirelessly. He's going to be up late in the afternoon, probably 12:30. And technically it's not the morning. Yeah. Matthew S. said, hang in there, guys. Absolutely. Hang in there, everybody. We'll find out really quickly whether it was a good decision to fire him based off on who the new head coach is or a bad decision. Simple as that.
I don't think it makes any difference in how we play next year.
D-Cut. Hang in there, D-Cut. Hang in there, guys. And hey, I've noticed a lot of the listeners of this show, again, are positive about the change that we've made. For certain they are. And let's give Lane Lambert a chance. Lou would never go for Quenneville. I don't think so either. That's why
I think he's going to go with somebody he knows.
I think really that's what I was about to say. So, like, when you see the Quenneville rumors, I think he has no chance.
That's because everyone. I don't think it's Quenneville either, but I think you're going to see maybe Babcock has a chance to be. Remember, he coached with him in Toronto.
Jesus Christ! Let me ask you, what do you think of Babcock again? Oof.
I don't know. He's won how many Stanley Cups? That seems to be, when people talk about Stanley Cups, he was mighty good in Detroit. I'm just saying. Our defense, the problem was they couldn't play any defense.
Let you read that one, Grump.
Will they ever find Jimmy Hoffa? No, probably not.
And then Shay says, I wouldn't be surprised if Philly hires Trotz.
I've heard Winnipeg.
I think Winnipeg, right? I think he wants to go home.
He'd be a good fit for them.
Lou's last season, Lou's
Best
best season was last offseason when he did nothing. Barry's best season was this regular season when he stifled the Islanders offense. Oh, bad season.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I hate listening to Butch and Brendan calling the playoff games that are not being played in by the Islanders.
I don't mind Brendan. I don't. And actually, Butch seems better, honestly, because they treat him with a little sense of respect. Right? He was on there with Darren Pang, and he just seems more lucid.
Maybe they're giving him pills. Maybe they're giving him the Prevagen. Or what's that little pill with the jellyfish that helps get the brain activity going?
I think it's Prevagen, isn't it?
I don't know. Watch me be saying the wrong drug. Michael Z says, I get it. Next season is still, or this season, or the season is still being played out, but any idea of who's up next? I think he'll have to have some familiarity with them for certain.
Yeah.
Oh, could you imagine Babcock?
I could see.
I didn't like the way Babcock divided the room in Toronto. I didn't like that. I didn't. I thought that's bad for team chemistry. Unless he's really learned from that mistake, right? I would say Babcock is. I worry about what he'll do to the room.
I don't. Babcock wasn't like that. That was.
No, when Babcock had him write the list down, who was that kid? Was it Marner or who the hell was it? He had to write the list down, and then he was like, "These are the players that he doesn't think are playing well." To a rookie, that doesn't bode well for the team's success.
Okay.
But all being said, Toronto hasn't won a playoff series even after Babcock. So
true, and they're probably not going to win one this year either.
Absolutely. Brian J says here the Islanders need to let the youth grow and surround Barzal with talent the way they never did with JT. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I think our draft is going to be different than it would have been.
Justin S says, I'm actually excited for the offseason now. So
am I.
Frank, teaching with the weak bladder. Absolutely. And you talk too much, TJ. Get to the comments. Oh, I'm sorry. David D. No. College Quinn is a name that came up. Absolutely. Hold on. College Quinn's name came up? Please no. They're just throwing anything at the wall.
Yeah, they're throwing every guy who is, since the Islanders are the first team that need a head coach in the offseason, they're throwing everybody who's a retread out there. That's what they're doing.
Veritas Invictus says, I think you guys were right about Barzal being upset. I think it was a factor too, just joining. Thanks, Veritas. I think we're right too. Frank also saying, hit the thumbs up. Absolutely, guys. Make sure to hit the thumbs up. Nikki G says, remember, Barzal's best years was with John Tavares. Why? Because he had somebody at his level and somebody to give him the puck, for a change, and that's what he needs, or at least on the power play, right?
Didn't they play on separate lines?
They did play on separate lines. I'm not even sure if they played on the same power play. I'd have to look that up. That's a long time ago. It's 5 years ago. I got to look that back up again.
Yeah.
To be honest, I think Noah was only developed because Barry was forced to play him more because of the COVID/injury bug.
It was when Noah Dobson, I even said it. Barry went out with COVID. Noah Dobson came in, and all of a sudden he's skating up and down the ice, rushing the puck. And I think he was scared to do that when Barry was coach. Maybe Barry saw, he's like, all right, I'm going to let you continue to do it.
Christian O said, aren't mandarins a form of orange? They
yes,
are.
They are.
I was hoping they were at least separate, far enough away from each other where it's kind of similar, but still very different.
I would say John Tortorella is a mandarin.
Oh, shit. Never mind. Then that's the case. I don't want what a mandarin is. Whatever you deem is the right analogy.
It's apples and oranges. That's what
Pierre McGuire, make it happen.
Now, Pierre McGuire was let go by Ottawa today.
REC says, good night, fans. Fun watching TJ get COVID live on the YouTube. No, I don't have COVID. John P says, hey, it's the allergies kill me. The allergies are killing me right now. John P says, hey, I just got home and you're still on. Impressive. Thanks, there. Please no to Babcock. Absolutely. Oh my God. Please no. I don't want College Quinn. Andrew L says Babcock is a passenger. He cannot coach.
I disagree.
Gross is a spineless weasel. Yeah.
Andrew Gross.
Are you guys going live streaming the draft lottery tomorrow? No. I think I might be doing something with, I think I'll be feeling good enough with Andy Francis and Phil's Facts. I think we're going to call the Tampa and Toronto game the greatest fried. Grumpy, we're giving them the evening off. I told Grumpy, don't worry, Grumpy. After I'm putting you on today, you don't have to worry about being on the podcast 6 times this week. I was about to say, because I'll be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I'll have Friday off, but I'll go Saturday. It's like, Jesus Christ. It's like we're back in the regular season again. Oof. Shooters Puck Hockey says, any team Barry goes to, he'll turn them around just like he did with the Islanders, and we'll probably get destroyed by him. If Trotz wins a cup with another team, what a nightmare that will be. Yeah.
Okay. He's been coaching how many years? And he won the cup once.
26, 27 years, something like that.
Yeah. No, I don't think you need to worry about that.
Can't wait to see a rehire and where the draft spot is. We're probably going to be at 13. D-Cut says, TJ, when you say D-Cut or College Quinn, give me some credit. D-Cut did come up with the name College Quinn.
You say Quinn, we say D-Cut. D-Cut, Quinn. D-Cut, Quinn.
SP said here, I simmed a ton of lotteries in Tankathon. Our chances of moving up are not very good. Yeah, I think it's like 1%. It's not like one is change.
It's not happening.
The New York Post had some great articles on possible Isles future coaches here. David Sean McDonald says, you guys only read the comments that you agree with, or I told you so on the podcast. I'm an angry Islander fan. No, David, sorry. I'm not trying to just read those ones. We usually read every comment, man, but we're 3 hours in. You got to forgive us, man. Come on. Alexander says here, just because they have a bad first run around with a new head coach doesn't mean they won't have success the second time around. Brad Shaw, here it comes. I don't know. TJ would rather give Sleepy Phil credit. Oh, come on. Alexander says coaches tend to get better the second time around. Look at Travis Green.
Ugh, Travis Green. No, I don't want him. Do not want Travis Green here.
I don't know either, dude. He was miserable. He was miserable in Vancouver. Here's the thing.
It's not going to be a young guy.
Lou Lamoriello can go wrong a lot of different ways with this hire. He needs to make the right hire. I feel confident, at least when he instilled Barry Trotz at that time period, that was for certain the right hire. For certain it was. REC said here, Uncle Leo will be coach. I saw him standing next to Putin smiling on this morning's news. God almighty. Oh, man. Frank C says, bring Mad Mike. Madman Mike. I honestly wish we can get him on the show.
Yes.
I've always said that. If we can get Mad Mike on the show like that, that would be awesome.
It would be
Thomas B says, gents, I'm sorry. I'm just popping up all over the place in the comments. Gents, this sucks. Lou should have been the one fired. Question, is Lou presser? He mentioned something regarding the forward group. If they trade Bailey or Bavillier in return, will be neutral at best. A lateral move. If they trade Nelson, they're moving in another direction. If Barzal is traded, depending on the return, the move could be looked at done in desperation. If Nelson is traded, the same could be said. Thanks.
They're not trading Barzal. They're not trading Nelson. There's no way they're trading Barzal. This move today was to make sure that Barzal stays with the team, period.
And to make sure the room doesn't completely tune him out.
Yes.
I think the room was there. I'm not sure anything else. I hear a lot of, I'm glad he needs to go, but I don't hear any suggestions on a new coach. We'll be diving in that, man. We'll be diving.
Yeah, that'll be Wednesday. We're going to talk about that Wednesday.
We're just processing the first thing.
This was supposed to be a 1-hour emergency podcast because Barry Trotz got fired.
Yeah,
that's what this was supposed to be.
It's grown to 3 hours and 20 minutes.
We still have all of our coaches.
Yep, all the assistants are still in check.
And I don't know how long you were on, David, but we were talking about going above and beyond re-signing Greco and Korn to extensions at above market rates to make sure they stay here. They're that good.
Frank saying everything happens for a reason. D-Cut. Don't be angry. Let's just see what happens. And Scott LaChance. I heard Barry Trotz is available. Maybe we should hire his system. That's a good one. Brock is like fine wine, getting better with age. Agreed. I will never bash Trotz. He's a good man.
He is a good man.
You will not see us bashing Trotz going forward. I just don't think he was the right coach for what we needed. Simple as that. We bashed him when we had him as a coach. Now he's gone. I have no ill will towards Barry Trotz. None.
He served his purpose with this franchise, and he did his job admirably.
I don't believe that putting Oliver Wahlstrom in over Travis Zajac would have won us the cup. I simply don't believe that. People espouse that. I don't believe it was that close. You know.
Yeah, Tampa Bay just too good.
But hey, man, we're here at the end. I know we wanted to keep this a 1 hour long podcast. I know we're 3 hours and about 30 minutes in. Sorry we didn't get to all the comments. We tried our best, guys. Just know we did. A lot going on here regarding Islanders community and Islanders world. We want to, number one, thank everybody for tuning in. We really do. We'll be going live again on Wednesday. We're going to be talking. Hopefully we'll have some selection. Go ahead, Grump.
What do you think we'll be talking about on Wednesday?
Probably after the Islanders win the draft lottery, because everything is looking up and cheery right now. No, it's not that great. Not everything is all perfect. This could be a bad move. It could be a good move. Just depending on what Lou does regarding who the head coach is. We're going to talk a little bit more in depth about those items. Definitely it was a shock to you and I, Grump. We thought he should be fired, but it was a shock. It was a shock that it actually happened. We heard multiple times, hey, he's got 1 year left on the contract. They're not going to fire him with 1 year left. And I said, I can actually agree with that. That being said, though, Grump, what do you want to say before we wrap things up today?
I want to say love and laughter to everyone who listens and even those who don't, from TJ and the grumpy old man.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you, Grumpy. Got one more comment here. Millennials have no stamina. Us old guys are bulls, right, Grump?
Absolutely.
Different
times, my friend.
I'm fighting off allergies too. Thanks, Mad Ass. I was about to say, I woke up and I'm just like, whoa. I went for a long walk and I was like, I know my allergies killed me on Sunday. So I hope it's allergies. I think it's allergies.
Maybe you should take some Zyrtec.
Well, Dayquil kind of helped me feel better earlier on in the day.
Yeah. Okay. Dayquil is not, whatever.
I don't know. You're supposed to.
Why don't you take some NyQuil and go to bed?
Shit, I don't need any help with that. I'll be passing out here. I hadn't eaten dinner, but I'll eat some dinner. I'll pass out and I'll wake up and do it all over again. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Again, if you're new to the show, welcome. We invite you to stick around a while. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube. Make sure you follow on Twitter and like on Facebook. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Make sure also you check out the other podcasts we have in the link in the description below or as a featured page on our YouTube channel. It's called TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. It is a general sports podcast. It's a lot of fun. We don't have too many serious topics. We just talk all things fun regarding sports. We do fan fights. We try to take a little bit more of a lighthearted approach. That can be found as a featured page on our YouTube channel or could be found in the link in the description below. We talk NFL, MLB, NBA, all things NHL, all things soccer, all things, everything sport, Kentucky Derby, fan fights.
I don't know.
Absolutely. We do. So make sure you check that one out as well. Thank you everybody for tuning in. We'll see you soon. We'll see you bare minimum on Wednesday. And thank you again, Grump.
My pleasure.
What is that little southern? Say that again. Was that some southern twang there, Grumpy?
I said my pleasure.